Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order our City Council regular meeting of November 4th, 2025. And we're going to start with a pledge to the flag. And I'd like to bring down a student from Meadows Elementary School, Penny Pingleton, to lead us.
Thank you. Everybody put their right hand on their heart. Let's begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Before you go, I'd like to invite down your principal from Meadows Elementary and your teacher, who is Lexi Hutchinson. Can you please come down? Can you tell us why we have this wonderful student who just gave the Pledge of Allegiance for us tonight?
Sure. I teach 5th grade at Meadows Elementary, but I have known Penny since she was a 2nd grader in my class, and then in my class again last year as a 4th grader. And now she comes to me 4 times a week for science rotations in 5th grade. And, you know, Penny is truly one of a kind. She has a heart way beyond her years. She always has naturally shown kindness and compassion to those around her. She notices when someone needs a smile, a helping hand, or just a little bit of encouragement. She's an incredibly hard worker, eager to learn new things, and a responsible and accountable student with excellent work habits. As a member of No Place for Hate, she is also a leader on school campus. Her teacher this year, Mrs. Gregorio, also told me to remember she is always so fashionable. Her sense of style is great. She always has a smile and is full of positive energy. She makes any class a brighter and happier place just by being her. Penny, you are awesome.
Thank you. I'd like to introduce your principal. If I could, can you introduce yourself, please?
I'm Michelle Krismarzik, and I have known Penny since she was a little baby. There's the Pingleton family in the back there. She's 1 girl, 4 boys, and so, of course, it makes her a natural leader. But Penny's also not only rules the tetherball court, but she's also she's kind to the core, and she steps up for everything. She gives it her all, and she's a wonderful example of what we would like a Meadows Mustang to be.
So I'm pleased to hear all these references about what you are and how you are in school, because our first ceremonial has to do with kindness, and it sounds like you are personified by that. Do you want to identify anybody in the back who's here with you tonight?
Yes, I like to identify my 2 brothers who are here to support me, Porter and Lincoln, and thank you for supporting me always there and being there for me.
That's nice. So just a moment.
And my mom and dad. Thank you.
Thank you. So just a moment. We have for you first a certificate on behalf of the entire City Council, who stands and sits behind me. We have a city pin for you, and we also have city pins for your teacher and your principal. Thank you. Thank you all for being here. Is there a desire for a photograph? It's probably easier if I just stand up here. So we actually shall move on to our roll call, please. Can we have a roll call?
Councilmember Tarnay.
Here.
Councilmember Sherillian.
Here.
Councilmember Howard.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Franklin.
Here.
Mayor Lester.
And I'm here. We now move on to our ceremonial calendar, and our first item is a presentation of a proclamation declaring November 13th, 2025 as World Kindness Day. By way of introduction, I'd simply say this is sort of a simple, idealistic idea, World Kindness Day, but particularly in these divisive times, I think it's all the more important that we recognize world kindness, and also to recognize those in our community that are doing great work. And one member of our community who's here with us tonight has a project related to the topic of kindness. She's no stranger to this council because she's been involved with several community projects, and I'd like to invite down Janet Jones to tell her a little bit about the project. So why don't you tell us about the Kindness for Kids book project, please?
Be glad to. My family, I have two sons who went through all the schools here, decided that kindness has been in short supply, not so much here in Manhattan Beach, but everywhere. So our idea was, let's give a donation to the LA County Library Foundation to have children's books brought to our library that talk about compassion, empathy, thoughtfulness, being a good friend. So the first 60 books have arrived. They're available to all 86 branches of the LA County Library System. And we just have received extra donations, so there will be hundreds more books arriving. And our hope is that children, their parents, their caregivers, their grandparents can read the books together and just be kinder, gentler human beings.
Thank you. It's wonderful. So in terms of to whom we would give a proclamation for World Kindness Day, I think it would be most appropriate to give it to Janet Jones for this wonderful project that she's spearheading, along with another city pin. So if all colleagues will join me. Our second ceremonial item is a presentation of certificates of recognition to the 2025 Fire Department Annual Home Escape Plan Contest winners. And I'd like to bring up to the front our Fire Chief, Jesse Alexander, our Senior Fire Inspector, Susie Contreras, and our Fire Inspector, Miguel Gutierrez. I'll hand the mic. Sir.
I'm going to delegate. Thank you, and good evening, Mayor, and good evening, City Council members. So for the past 18 years, we've had the privilege of partnering with our local elementary schools to promote fire safety during Fire Prevention Week. Today, we are here to recognize and congratulate our winners of this year's Home Escape Program. Before bringing the winners forward, we would like to share a short video with you guys.
And now we'd like to recognize our winners. When I call your name, please come forward. From American Martyrs, Maverick Svalberg Little. From Grandview Elementary, Gavin White. From Meadows Elementary, Cordelia Cortez. From Pacific Elementary, Jeremy Chong. From Pennycap Elementary, Smith Overend. And from Robinson Elementary, Cora Wilcox. Thank you.
I think it should be mentioned that for those here tonight, the plans that they prepared are on easels outside of the room. So if you want to see what they prepared, please go see their drawings that are on the easels. I also have for each of you a little bling. It's a city pin, which you can have in addition to your certificate for what you prepared. And then we're going to get a photo. So I'll give one to you, to you, to you, and one for you. Okay, and we'll get a picture. Congratulations, you guys. We can stay for the meeting if you want. But I also wanted to particularly thank fire department staff for organizing and executing on this wonderful program and the video. My word, that was terrific. Thank you all, and thank you guys for being here. Well done.
Oh, darn it. Everyone's leaving.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, for assisting with the handout of the awards. Okay, we move on to item E, which is approval of agenda and waiver of full reading of ordinance. You know, I think this is on,
Oh, it's on? Sorry.
but I'll repeat it again. Can you hear me in the back? Turn. AV, if you could get, is that better? All right. We now move on to item E, approval of agenda and waiver of full reading of ordinances. So is there a motion?
I move.
Second.
However, does any member of council anticipate pulling an item for the agenda? Or a consent calendar agenda, I'm sorry?
Your Honor, not pulling an item. Item number, this is regarding item number 5 on the consent calendar, but I'm registering a no vote with the city clerk,
But not pulling it.
but not pulling it.
Okay. Okay, in which case there has been a motion, and I'm sorry, that was by the Mayor Pro Tem, is that right?
Yes.
You made the
Yes.
motion, and that was seconded by Councilmember Tarnay. We'll call for the vote, please.
Councilmember Sherillian,
Yes, with the exception of 5.
Councilmember Tarnay,
Yes.
Councilmember Howard,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Franklin,
Yes.
Mayor Lesser.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. We'll now move on to item F, which is the City Council and Community Organization announcements of upcoming events for up to 1 minute per person. If you care to make an announcement, please go to the podium, Marie's podium in the back, and feel free to make a community announcement.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Haworth.
may I make a quick community announcement? I just want to say
I appreciate everyone's patience, and especially our mayor in conducting in this sort of awkward space. I mean, it's nice we have the school desks over here around the side, but it's hard without us pressing the buttons, and you're doing a great job.
Thank you. Let's see if you still say that by the end of the meeting, but thank you very much. All right. Chief Johnson.
Good evening, Mayor Lesser, members of the City Council. I'm Rachel Johnson, your police chief, and I wanted to take the opportunity to invite the community to Tip-A-Cop, which is tomorrow evening, that's Wednesday night, from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. at Tin Roof Bistro. This is our second Tip-A-Cop of the year. We're very excited about it, so please join us at Tin Roof Bistro tomorrow between 5 and 8 for Tip-A-Cop. While you're there, you can have some excellent food. I recommend everything on the menu, as well as make a donation to the Special Olympics, which allows differently abled athletes to participate fully in sports and other life activities. So please join us tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Johnson.
Honorable Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, City Council members, city officials, Chief Bobby Bell, WM Outreach Educator for the beautiful city of Manhattan Beach. Just one quick announcement. Next week we celebrate Veterans Day. There will be no interruption in service. We will service on Veterans Day, and I'll be back in 2 weeks to talk about Thanksgiving. Wish you guys all God's blessing.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Cassandra from the Manhattan Beach Library. I just wanted to first say I love the World Kindness Initiative. We are helping to support Janet by having a kindness themed story time the week of November 10th, and we're also having a kindness tree put up to where kids can make little leaves where they write what they think kindness is or like an act of kindness that they've done. And our marketing team is working to also create social media graphics for us and a bookmark and a link to the books on our webpage. So I think that that's really great. In addition, we are also celebrating Native American Heritage Month for children, teen, and adults. So the one program I wanted to highlight is a food sovereignty program. So we're highlighting how Native American communities are taking control of their food sources and production by revitalizing tradition, healthy and localized food sources. So it's a hands-on workshop where you'll get to start your own salvia culmberry plant and explore its cultural uses among various Native groups. All materials are provided. I'd recommend registering online because we do tend to fill up, and that is going to be Friday the 14th at 4. Thank you.
Hello. I just wanted to invite the community out to, can everyone hear me now? Okay, great. I just wanted to invite everyone out to our Veterans Day ceremony. It will be on Valley Drive in Ardmore on Tuesday, the 11th of November at 11 a.m. It's our 28th annual Veterans Day ceremony, so we'll have a beautiful ceremony there and pay tribute to the men and women who served our country.
Thank you. Is there any other member of the public that would like to make a community announcement of 1 minute in the room? If not, Martha, is anybody on Zoom that would care to make an announcement? Okay. In which case, I turn to my council colleagues. Do you have any announcements? Any colleagues? Councilmember Tarnay.
Thank you. With our federal government SNAP program partially shut down at the moment, the South Bay Food Initiative is hosting a food drive, and you can drop off non-perishable foods at Maricosta, Redondo Union, and Palos Verdes High School. There are donation bins located in the school's lobby during office hours. If you'd like more information, please check them out at southbayfoodinitiative.org. Thank you.
Any other council member announcements? Mayor Pro Tem Franklin.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Appreciate that. We heard at the last meeting, but just want to remind everybody about the Vet Fest. This is the Rotary event that is just growing and growing, and just a lot of terrific fun. So, good, great. Thank you, Martha, for bringing that up, or Patty. So there's the information right there. So it's Saturday, November 8th, and from noon until 5 p.m. I mean, they got great bands, they got great food. It's just a terrific experience, and it's for a great cause. So you can see it's going to be at the Konetka building on Rosecrans, and I can't quite read the address if it's there, but hope to see you there.
Is that your band? It says Joe's band.
Yeah, well, you know, I didn't want to say, but.
I have two announcements. The first, and I think there is a visual, is on behalf of the Miracosta Drama group, I wanted to announce their, I guess it's their fall play, which starts on November 7th, which is, bear with me, a beautiful day in November on the banks of the greatest of the Great Lakes. So it's a play in the Miracosta High School Small Theater. There are performances that begin on November 7th, and if you have interest in this, you can find information about tickets and how to go at the website miracostadramatech.org, and that is on the slide. The second announcement I wanted to make is on this Friday, I'll be inaugurating my Coffee with the Mayor series, where it's an opportunity for me to speak with residents and others who want to speak about issues that we're dealing with as a city council. I'm looking forward to those that want to come. The first one will be on this coming Friday, the 7th, at the Metlocks Plaza. Come, bring your beverage of choice, and we can talk about city issues. I hope to make this a regular event. First three ones will be at Metlocks Plaza, but then I hope to move them to East Manhattan Beach for others, and maybe at a different time so people can come afterward. With that, we'll now move on to public comments, where members of the public are invited to address council on any matter that's within the jurisdiction of council for up to 3 minutes per person. If you care to address council, please go to the microphone, which is in the rear.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I was looking at the consent calendar. There's 3 items on the consent calendar that caught my eye. The first one was item 5, and this is it's asking for $700,000 regarding the closed session, and I just don't understand how that works. I hope that you guys have talked about it, understand what that is. I didn't see it as a budget item, but if you could just disclose to the public how it works. I know there's confidential items. I don't want to hear about those. Just the process. I'm just interested in the financial aspect of it. The second item is on the consent calendar, item 7. It's the provision and installation of 7 smart covers for a cost of $195, which is about 28 grand per cover. And I think it's worth just kind of highlighting what that is and what the value is behind that one. That just seems a little high to me unless there's an infrastructure behind that and there's a bigger project behind it. And the third one is one that I think is pretty exciting. It's the ESRI GSI solution. I read it. I try to understand more about it. A lot of techno speak behind it, but it seems like there's a lot of good value we can get out of it. And I'm hoping somebody can give us some layman's terms about the benefits this has for our city and how we can make use of it. When I think about like the Chamber of Commerce, what they're trying to do for economic development, how could they make use of this? Maybe some of our other nonprofits in town, how could they make use of this solution as well? So if we could hear a little bit more about that, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Laura Dodson.
Ms. Dodson, hold on just a moment. Let's make sure that we can hear you.
I want to speak briefly about Bed Pool and the proposed plan to basically privatize the community resource. Bay Club is a private entity, and our community pool is a public resource. As a public resource, the goal of government is to support and provide services for the community. For a private enterprise, the goal is to make a profit. And we have a wonderful pool. It needs some updating. Some of that has already happened. I'm there 4 days a week, and every day I'm there, the pool is filled with community members. In the class I'm in, it's mostly older people who, if we convert to a more privatized model, there are real financial issues. I'm very concerned, and I want to express that concern, and I would like to encourage the council, as you're in meetings, to please ask how many times the dues have been raised for the Bay Club over the last 2 or 3 years. Because I think what we're looking at is an agreement that because the city will essentially lose control, we don't really know where it's going. And I also want to give a shout out to our fabulous pool staff and the fact that, in fact, during the summers when we need more people at the pool, more lifeguards, those are our kids that we're hiring from our community to fill those jobs. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Ray Joseph. I wanted to talk about the tree ordinance. One of the problems that we have with all the trees is it destroys our drains. I've seen a couple situations where the owners of the properties are spending thousands and thousands of dollars to try and get all the roots out of the drains, and even if you clear the roots, they come right back in months later, and you get all these backups. Of course, all the plumbing backups happen on Sundays when the plumbers aren't working, so you have to hire the really expensive plumber to go clear the problem. And you also get the problem, you know, if it's backing up through the sewer line, it's backing up into the house, and you got the mess in the house. So we've got to find a solution around this. And the problem is, if these big trees are within 20 to 50 feet of the drain line, the roots get in. Well, when you have property that are 40-foot wide lots, guess what? The trees are always there, and they're always getting in the pipes. And then, you know, to repair the pipe properly, you have to go all the way out to the street to, so you're cutting open the street to go fix the problem. I've seen areas in the streets where the streets are buckling up from all the roots. You have the problem in the hill section where you have these big massive trees that are blocking people's views. Or if you tear down and build a house, they'd say put up a tree somewhere else. Well, now you're putting a tree where it's now blocking somebody's view, and that's very upsetting. And some of these trees are absolutely massive compared to the lot sizes that people have. So there needs to be something where, you know, property owners have the choice of being able to remove a tree to mitigate the plumbing problems, open up the light, and not block the neighbor's views. You know, so I think it's, well, I like trees, but there's an appropriate place for them, and we just can't have the real massive ones destroying all the plumbing, you know, blocking light and other things. You know, there's got to be a balanced approach. So it'd be great if we could have a relook at the tree ordinance and give owners a little bit more flexibility. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker. Would anyone else care to offer public comments for up to 3 minutes?
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm Matt Ramundis. I'm with Yeasty Boys Bagels, the mobile food truck vendor. We support regulation. And by the way, we're not here asking for exemption, special treatment, or anything like that. But Ordinance 25-0011, which you're voting on tonight, combines multiple buffers, distances, and now slope, which when mapped together leave virtually no viable legal spaces for us to operate in. That's not regulation, that's elimination. The city has stated this is about safety. The state law, California Vehicle Code 22455, uses the legal basis for this update allows cities to regulate vending for safety, not to eliminate competition. Yet, in reviewing the staff reports, PowerPoints, there's little no safety data presented, no incidents, complaints documented, impacts to public safety. We do know competition concerns are part of this conversation because we heard it publicly at the July 15th meeting when Kelly Stroman stated on record, quote, food trucks present unfair competition to the locally owned year-round restaurants, boutiques, and the cafes, end quote. That's economic protectionism, exactly what the law prohibits. Meanwhile, our approach has been collaborative since day one. We obtained the permits by the book, communicated with law enforcement and chief of police when concerns were raised, adjusted locations when asked. We offered to help design operating guidelines and a playbook to preserve Manhattan Beach's aesthetic standards prestige. We bring hundreds of residents on foot every weekend. Families meet friends, people walk, ride bikes, stay local. We've received overwhelming community support, including hundreds of messages, comments, and surveys telling us to stay. If safety is the goal, we're all in. Let's build clear guardrails together. But a regulation that removes every option is simply a ban dressed up as safety. And we want to operate legally. We want to collaborate. We want to comply. All we're asking for is that you table this item for 30 days, work with us on a pilot zone, a solution that reflects safety, clarity, fairness. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Victoria Peters, and I'm here to talk about the city's attempt to make our parking pads public parking. I have notes here, but I live in the 400 block of 28th Street, and before that I had a little house, beach cottage that didn't have a garage, and then we built our house 2 doors down, and when we did, we made our parking as wide as we could and as deep, more than code had at the time. And so we always park our cars in the garage, and we have plenty of space for a workbench, my grandmother's furniture, and bicycles. And the way the code is now, people can fence in their easements, which was really short-sighted to begin with. People could fence in their easements, which a lot of people did, and it reduced parking. And so I decided that I wanted a parking pad because I knew how hard it was to park in Manhattan Beach. And so I made a parking pad in front of my house, and it looks nice, and I keep it groomed and all that. And then all of a sudden I get this letter in the mail that it's a done deal. The signs are up and telling people they can park on our pads. And it was like pretty secret. I mean, I never heard about it coming up. And I wrote to the city manager and several times, and the city council, and I never got any replies back at all. No replies back. And just ignored. And like the people across the street from me, they have a 3-story house. They've fenced in their easement. They have never used their parking. They've never parked in the garage. They've made it into a playroom, and so they're always jockeying on the street. And on my street, now people have been there a long time, so they have kids, and they're getting to be 16 and driving, and so they've got cars. They're breeding like feral cats. Where are they going to park? There's just parking all over. And we're talking about Kindness Week. Well, I know a woman who's 80 years old, and she lives in the 300 block of 32nd Street. She has a little house that doesn't have a garage. She has a parking space in the front, and she came home the other day with groceries, and there was somebody parked in her place, and he started to get out of his car, and she said, "Oh, excuse me, that's where I park." He said, "This is public parking, and I can park here if I want." That's kindness. This is Kindness Week, and that's kindness. I don't think so. And we have 3 on our block, and we just blanked out the P's on our front of our house. So, I don't think it's fair, and I don't think you think it's fair too. No, I don't think anyone. Is that my time up? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other member of the public that's in the room that would care to make public comments? If not, is there anybody on Zoom, Mark? In which case I'll close public comment, but I would welcome if the city manager could provide an update. I believe the parking pad matter is scheduled for a future council meeting. So council actually has requested that this item come back for future discussion. Is that correct?
That is correct. It will be coming back to council.
Any rough idea of when?
It'll take me a second.
That's okay. Perhaps if you could provide your information again, Ms. Peters, to a staff member, they can get back to you as to when it's anticipated to come back to council.
Yeah, there'll be notice.
There will be public notice. This will be a public notice meeting. Thank you. Hold on just a moment, please. We have a community development director who will be overseeing the matter, and he has just a brief update, I believe.
Yes, the parking pad item will be going to the PPIC in their first meeting in December. So I think it's December
4th or 3rd. And then it will be coming to the council in late January or early February.
Great, thank you. So perhaps you can give your email address to Mr. Massey or the city clerk. I see our city clerk would like to say something.
There's a last-minute raised hand on Zoom.
Sure.
Hi guys, my name is Bibi Golari. I'm from Creation. We have 2 locations in Manhattan Beach, and it's my family's business. We've been operating there for like over a decade, and we just wanted to express our strong support for Yeasty Boys Bagels and their continued presence in Manhattan Beach. We've known the Yeasty Boys people for a long time. We've shared quite a few locations with them in different neighborhoods. They've consistently proven to be wonderful neighbors and partners in fostering a vibrant local community. They bring energy, creativity, and connections wherever they go, and their trucks really attract enthusiastic, respectful customers. And so we just wanted to say they're a great addition to Manhattan Beach.
Thank you. Madam City Clerk, is there anybody else on Zoom that might want to speak? Yes. There is. I'm sorry, the first name is David. You may proceed.
Hi, I'm sorry, I just joined. Are we allowed to talk about the beg pool item?
You can do so now, or you can wait until the item itself is heard, which will be forthcoming. But if you'd like to speak now, you may speak now for up to 3 minutes.
I appreciate it. I'll make it quick. I got to pick up some kids, but regarding the beg pool item, we are residents and homeowners here in Manhattan Beach, a parent of 4. So our family of 6 uses beg pool frequently. I would say at least once a month, and I echo the sentiments regarding the staff. They're wonderful. We've rented had our kids' birthday parties there, and I just wanted to say the proposed fee schedule seems really steep and out of reach for local families. For our family to go to the pool, it costs a $70 fee compared to the $18, which is a major jump and effectively price out many families, including our own. I do appreciate the expanded pool hours of the Bay Club, 10 to 12 hours on the weekend, which is a big improvement over the current access, but the significant cost increase would make our regular visits unrealistic. I want to consider, an affordable annual pass option. I believe El Segundo does something similar, a model where families pay a one-time annual fee for unlimited access throughout the year, and this would maintain, access to the pool consistently. I also have a question regarding the city camps. The Manhattan Beach Parks and Rec summer camps use beg pool frequently. So do those programs go away during the summer? I find it unlikely that the Bay Club would accommodate any city camp programming. Again, the study indicated that 75% of pool users are Manhattan Beach residents, and it shows this is essential to maintain a true community amenity and affordable and accessible to everyone. So, if the Bay Club partnership is the proposed solution, I urge the city to reconsider it entirely. Families who are willing to pay, $50+ a visit are probably in a position to afford a Bay Club membership. So I don't think this is going to make anyone happy, and will just alienate regular residents while creating, this complicated arrangement between the Bay Club and the city. So unfortunately, I would prefer no local, nothing to compare to this option. It makes me, pretty sad that our kids are going to lose an affordable local place to swim if this plan moves forward. Our family would probably go to something more affordable like Wiseburn or Hawthorne. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I understand there's one more speaker on Zoom, please. Melanie, you may proceed.
Hello, good evening. I am speaking on behalf of Yeasty Boys as well, and would just like to emphasize that they are very helpful in bringing the community together on the weekends especially, and during the week. I do see lots of families and locals that go and dine with them, so I would like for them to be able to stay in our community if possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other individual that would like to speak on Zoom? There are none. Is anybody else in chamber? If not, we'll close public comment and move on to the consent calendar.
Your Honor?
Yes.
Sorry, since a few residents indicated some concern about the pool item, is there, we can make a statement that we're not looking to replace spec pool, it's just an addition to, because I don't want to lose the residents or the one that's listening on the phone.
No, I appreciate your comment. I think the best way to proceed is to wait till we call the item, but what Councilmember Sherillian is saying is that, going to the substance of the item, that there does not need to be a choice of one over the other. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. But please stick around or replay the meeting on tape if you can't. And we welcome your participation when the item is called, if anybody else would like to participate. All right. With that, we move on to item H, the consent calendar. Is there a motion to approve subject to Councilmember Sherillian's request to be a no vote on item number 5?
So moved.
Councilmember
second that.
Tarnay has made the motion with the second, excuse me, by Mayor Pro Tem Franklin. Call for the vote, please.
Councilmember Tarnay,
Yes.
Councilmember Sherillian,
Yes, with the exception of 5.
Councilmember Howard,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Franklin,
Yes.
Mayor Lesser.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
In which case, we have no items removed from the consent calendar. We move on to public hearings, item number J. And we begin with item number 9, which is to conduct the 2025 Public Health Goals Public Hearing and receive a presentation, etc. It has a long title, and I defer to city staff to describe it.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor and
Is your
council
mic-
members. I am on. I cannot turn it too much so we don't get too much echo.
Very good.
Ted Saman, I'm the Public Works Director for the city. I'm joined tonight by Jeff Page, our Utilities Manager, and Sandy Namat, our Water Compliance Supervisor. Sandy will be giving you the presentation tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ted, and good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of City Council. Can you hear me well?
Yes.
Great. My name is Sandy Namat. I'm the Water Compliance Supervisor with the Public Works Department. Tonight, I'm going to be presenting the 2025 Public Health Goals hearing that summarizes the city's drinking water quality and compares it to the state and federal health goal standards. So I'll start with giving a quick overview of our Manhattan Beach system, Manhattan Beach water system. In Manhattan Beach, we have 2 sources of water. We have our local wells that get treated at the PEC iron and manganese treatment plant. We also have purchased water that we get it from the Metropolitan Water District, which they source it from the Colorado River and the State Water Project in Northern California. All of this water, whether it's imported or local, gets tested regularly and monitored for chemicals, radioactive, and bacteriological matter. That's how we ensure safe and reliable water before it even hits our customer taps. As a system with 10,000 connections or more, Manhattan Beach has specific responsibilities under the California Health and Safety Code. First, we are required to prepare a written report every 3 years that looks at our water quality results and compares it to the federal and state water health goals. We are also required to hold a public hearing to present the report and share the findings that we are doing right now, and to accept any comments or questions if there are any. Finally, the report covers the water quality analysis for the past 3 years, and in this case, it covers the water quality analysis from calendar years 2022 and 2023 and 2024. So what are public health goals? Public health goals, or PHGs, are advisory goals only. They're not regulatory limits. They're essentially used as benchmarks when the state sets enforceable standards for drinking water. They are set by the Office of Environmental Health Hazard Assessment, or OEHHA. And the below table summarizes who sets the drinking water standards, whether they're enforceable, and the purpose of these standards. I'll start with the MCL, or the maximum contamination level. This is set by the EPA and California State. They are enforceable. They are the legal limits for the drinking water supply. Second one is the MCLG, or the maximum contamination level goals. They are set by the EPA. They are not enforceable, and they are health-based goals with safety margins. Compared to the PHGs, or the public health goals, again, they're set by OEHHA. They are not enforceable limits, and they are state health-based goals. Our overall findings are straightforward. First, the drinking water delivered to our Manhattan Beach's customers met all state and federal standards. Second, all results remained well below enforceable limits, which are the MCLs, whether it's imported water or our local water. And finally, as expected, some results exceeded the health goals, whether it be PHGs or MCLGs. And that was mainly in the MWD water, purchased water. But again, those are advisory goals, not regulatory limits, and the water remains in compliance with the state and federal standards. In conclusion, Manhattan Beach's drinking water meets all enforceable standards. Any further reductions would require costly advanced treatment with very little added health benefit to our customers. So our recommendations is that there are no additional action required beyond filing the report and holding this hearing. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Great, thank you. Thank you for your report. Council members, any questions? Any questions? Seeing none, I just had one. If you could just better describe the constituents detected in the water system above their PHGs and MCLGs in the metropolitan water supply. What are those elements?
Absolutely. These are naturally occurring minerals and radioactive material. Some of them are arsenic. Bromate is actually a byproduct that they use for their disinfection treatments. And what was the second part of your question?
I guess I just want to confirm that the amounts are so small, they're trace amounts, that they are determined safe and what they are, and you just defined that.
Right. The amounts are much lower than the MCLGs or the PHGs that are set by the state and feds. And they are well below, many times well below the maximum contamination levels, which are the enforceable limits.
Great, thank you. Any council member questions? Mayor Pro Tem Frank?
Yes, Mayor. I just want a clarification on slide 5 and the overall findings where it says some results exceeded health goals. Maybe I read it too quickly, but I first read that as it exceeded it, which was a bad thing, but it's actually exceeded the goals of doing a good thing, right?
It exceeded the public health goals, which are the advisory health goals.
Right.
It did not, it still remained well under the maximum contamination
Okay.
levels, which are the enforceable standards.
Okay, great. I just wanted to clarify that.
Absolutely.
I'd like to open this item up for public comment. Would any member of the public care to address this item who is in the room tonight? Seeing none. Martha, is anybody on Zoom that would like to address this item?
Am I live? Can you hear me?
Hold on just a moment. Let's make sure his volume is up so we can hear him. Try again. We won't take away from your time. Just say hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
I think we can hear you well enough.
Okay,
You may proceed.
I'll try to speak up a little bit louder. One, I appreciated the comment. Obviously, water is a great interest to me. My name is Jim Burton, longtime resident. A couple questions regarding the recommendation of no action. If the elevated levels of the constituents are coming in from Metropolitan Water District, what, if any, action, my first question is, what, if any, action can the city of Manhattan Beach take if the elevated levels are within our purchased water? And my second question, I understand the arsenic, but were there any elevated levels of radiologicals for public health goals that were included in Metropolitan's water that we are receiving? That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else on Zoom that would care to speak? Okay. Anybody else, again, in chambers that would like to speak on this? Seeing none, I'll close public comment, and maybe I'll start by just asking the questions that the caller just asked. Are you able to address whether any action can be taken in Manhattan Beach, or if it's warranted, given that these are trace amounts, with regard to the constituents that are in the metropolitan water? And then the second question is, are there any what are they called? You used the right term, and I don't know it well enough.
So the first question is there any action that we could take for the Metropolitan Water District? As a municipality, they're responsible to provide any treatment if that's possible for them. But again, the PHGs or the public health goals or even the MCLGs are set at very conservative levels to where there's no health risk to the public. So any treatment that would be provided, it would be very costly with very minimal health benefit.
Okay, thank you. And then the second question he asked?
About the radioactivity,
Yes.
What was the question again? Sorry.
I believe, are there any radioactives that were determined or found in
Yes.
the water? And I
Yes.
presume those were also trace amounts? Can you confirm that?
Yes, there was gross alpha and gross beta in the Metropolitan Water District that were a little bit elevated over the PHGs or the MCLGs. But, MCLGs are set at 0 and for those two constituents. And so, again, they are much less than the MCLs, which are the enforceable standards.
Great. Thank you. All right. Any council member questions, comments, or a motion? Councilmember Howitt.
Well, I was going to make a motion that we receive and file the report, but also thank staff for keeping, a check on the quality of our water. I mean, these are the kinds of things it seems like it's a kind of a regulatory thing that we have to do, this public hearing, but it's very, very important, like one of the most important things. So thank you.
Great. I believe that motion's been seconded by Councilmember Tarnay.
Yes.
Any comments?
No
Okay.
comment.
All right. I just simply wanted to echo what Councilmember Howard said. Thank you to staff for the work that you're doing, which keeps our water supply safe, and thank you for this report tonight. Call for the vote, please.
Councilmember Haworth,
Yep.
Mayor Pro Tem Franklin,
Yes.
Mayor Lesser,
Yes.
Councilmember Tarnay,
Yes.
Councilmember Sherillian.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. We now move on to item number 10, which is consideration and introduction of an ordinance amending section 10.52.050D of the Manhattan Beach Municipal Code related to accessory structure rear yard setback requirements.
Good evening, Mayor Lesser and members of the council. Masalik, our Community Development Director. Tonight's staff report will be provided by Associate Planner Maricela Guillen. And I'll pass the mic over to her.
Literally. Yes.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor and members of the City Council. My name is Maricela Guillen, Associate Planner. The item before you is to consider and introduce an ordinance amending Section 10.52.050D of the Manhattan Beach Municipal Code related to accessory structure rear yard setback requirements. The City Council held a meeting in June of 2024 and another in February of 2025 where they discussed and directed staff to explore alternative rear yard setback regulations for accessory structures. The Planning Commission conducted 2 study sessions in June and August of 2025 where the Commission discussed potential alternative accessory structure regulations, heard public comments, and directed staff to come back with amended code language. In October, the Planning Commission conducted a public hearing and recommended approval of resolution number 25-10 to City Council. Staff was directed to bring back code language to amend the existing governing regulation, which allows accessory structures in rear yards with 0 side or rear setbacks. This existing regulation is codified in MBMC section 10.52.050D relation to property lines as provided in part below. Based on the input received at previous Planning Commission meetings, the following directives can be summarized into these 4 items. The following 4 directives and how they have been addressed will be discussed in the following slides. Additional consideration for proposed definitions was also included as part of the Commission's discussion. However, they are not included as part of this zoning effort. Amending definitions will be considered as part of the city's effort to implement certain housing element programs in the coming months that may require miscellaneous amendments to the MBMC and the Manhattan Beach Local Coastal Program. The proposed amendments to MBMC Section 1052.050D are shown in red underline. The format is to break down the proposed code amendments based on the Planning Commission's directive. First, we have regulation scope. The blue blocks shown on the slide, which I realize is a little difficult to see on this slide here, shows that the new provisions are applicable to single-family zones in area districts 1 and 2 only. Area districts 1 and 2 make up the vast majority of the city and primarily consist of single-family residential zones. The Planning Commission also directed staff to explore the possibility of exempting smaller shed-like structures with no electrical or plumbing. So the new proposed provisions are only applicable to structures which require a building permit. The second directive was to amend the setback provisions for accessory structures. The language highlighted in the blue box directly addresses this request. The proposed amendment code language eliminates the 0-foot rear yard setback allowance for accessory structures and requires a minimum 3-foot setback with exemptions that would allow 0-foot setbacks for lots abutting an alley or a commercial zone. As noted in the previous slide, accessory structures which do not qualify for a building permit, such as a small shed with no electrical or plumbing components, would be exempt from the new setback provisions. To better depict these new setback standards, the following diagrams have been prepared. Each diagram shows the minimum 10-foot building separation requirement, and the hatched blue line represents the rear yard setback. For non-alley lots, new proposed accessory structures or an addition to an existing accessory structure must comply with a minimum 3-foot rear and side setback. For alley lots with non-garage accessory structures, newly proposed accessory structures or an addition to an accessory structure may maintain a 0-foot setback along the rear property line, but must comply with a minimum 3-foot side setback. For alley lots with a detached garage accessory structure, a newly proposed detached garage or in addition to it a garage must comply with a minimum 5-foot rear setback for vehicle backup requirements and maintain a 3-foot side setback. And lastly, for lots directly abutting a commercial zone, accessory structures may be built along a side and or rear property line if the property line directly abuts a commercial zone. The third Planning Commission directive was to retain the existing review process, so that new accessory structures will remain ministerially reviewed. To reduce the impact for the increase in the number of legal nonconforming accessory structures due to setbacks, the Planning Commission recommended exempting legal nonconforming accessory structures from a minor exception as long as the nonconforming exterior portions of an accessory structure are within the required setbacks and are not altered. The last Planning Commission directive was to retain the existing 10-foot building separation requirement, and this requires no code amendments. The city has reviewed the proposed code amendments for compliance with the California Environmental Quality Act, or CEQA, and has determined that the zone text amendments are exempt from CEQA pursuant to the following sections. Therefore, the proposed code amendments are exempt from further review under CEQA. A public notice was published in the Beach Reporter on October 23rd, 2025, and the meeting agenda was emailed to all interested parties. No public comments were received. Staff recommends that the City Council conduct a public hearing and introduce ordinance number 25-12, amending MBMC section 1052050D to update regulations pertaining to accessory structures, rear yard setback requirements. This concludes staff's presentation. We're available to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcel. Council members, any questions?
Yeah, I have. Oh, go ahead.
Councilmember Hope.
Oh, okay. Thank you. And I want to thank our mayor for, I believe you brought this to our attention, and this is, I can see why it was, why it was needed. Okay, sorry for the whistling and feedback. I do have questions on slide 11 for the structures on alley lots, detached garage accessory structure. And I just need help walking through the spatial representation. So slide 11, can you guys see it? Oh,
we're working on getting it up right now.
Okay, sorry. I believe. Oh, we're gonna get there, yay. I see pictures. Okay.
Great.
So, so first of all, I appreciate the exemptions for the commercial zones. I mean, that makes, it's very sensible. I just don't understand, so you're just gonna walk me through the detached garage accessory structure. So that is, somebody's garage is not attached to their house, and it is a garage, or it is a garage that is being turned into like an ADU, so there will be no car parked there? That's my first question.
So these regulations do not apply to accessory dwelling units. This section relates to accessory structures. Accessory dwelling units have their own section of the code.
Okay.
There could be a possibility that they may be converted into an accessory structure, and that was a consideration when crafting the development standards that the Planning Commission did consider. However, these are separate development standards.
Okay, much appreciated. So in this, the alley, and then I believe that it's a dotted, the dotted line is the property line. Dum, 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 dum. Because, sorry for that. Because I live, my garage is on an alley, but it's a place. And so I was thinking that meant place and then the alley. So I'm thinking in the future, it would cut into my property line by 5 feet, but that's not true. Any garage has to be 5 feet. Any that's not attached has to be 5 feet from that. And then let me make sure I understand the next slide too. I do understand that. There's one, the non-garage accessory structure, which is 10, slide 10. So that is also not an ADU then. That is something, this is just a structure that's not an ADU.
That's correct.
Okay.
A detached accessory structure,
Thank
such
you.
as a guest house or a pool cabana.
Oh, okay, yeah, because a guest house isn't that an ADU?
I'm sorry. It would be sort of like a pool cabana or some sort of storage shed.
Bless their hearts. Okay, or a storage shed. Okay, so great. This is so helpful and great work. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Schroeder.
Thank you, Mayor. Great report, thank you. I just had a quick question. I know we're talking about rear yards 3 feet. Is there any property that would impact the front of the front yard setback in the city?
The provisions provided today relate to accessory structures located within a rear yard setback. So as you can see on these diagrams, you see, it may be a little difficult on the screen, but you see the hatched rear yard setback line. So it pertains to accessory structures only within the rear yard
The
setback.
rear. Great. What is the front yard setback? Just curious.
That would be dependent on the lot site. Typically, it's going to be around 20 feet.
20 feet. What if, okay, thank you.
Great. Mayor Pro Tem, I think we need to push.
Yes.
Oh, there we go. Thank you. So, have any ADUs been built before this code amendment that would not be complying with this code amendment?
ADUs have their separate development standards. So if you were to propose a new accessory dwelling unit, the required setbacks for an accessory dwelling unit would be 4 foot from the rear and 4 foot from a side property line. There are provisions that do allow for conversion of existing space. So if there was an existing accessory structure that was on a property line that could have a potential to be converted. However, that is up to state regulations, and it's a ministerial process to process those ADU projects.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Great. And for my question, I wanted you to, one more time, go through the notion of legal non-conforming and how this law applies to existing structures and, more importantly, new construction going forward.
So new accessory structures would be subject to potentially the provisions of a elimination of a 0 foot side or rear setback and potentially a 3 foot if the council were to direct staff to go that way. An existing accessory structure, there are some in the city that do have a 0 foot side and or rear setback on the side or rear for an accessory structure. Those would be considered legal non-conforming. However, in crafting the language, we try to consider to not impose a barrier on those existing structures and to consider the maintenance in the future for those. So as long as there's an addition to an accessory structure, that addition would need to comply with the new setback regulations, and they would be potentially exempt from further planning entitlements such as a minor exception, as long as they're not touching the existing exterior portions of that accessory structure.
Helpful. Thank you very much. Councilmember Tarnay.
Thank you. So can you clarify, so if somebody has an existing garage right now that they want to convert into an ADU and it's legal non-conforming where it's not meeting that, well, currently it's not non-conforming if it's on the property line without the 3 foot setback on each side. If that person wanted to convert that property into an ADU, can you explain to me what that process would be like?
Sure. I would further clarify to say typically most garages are not going to be at a 0 foot setback because there's a vehicle backup clearance requirements that typically require anywhere between a 5 to 7 foot backup clearance. However, if you did have an accessory structure that's not a garage at a 0 property line, you could have the potential to convert that into an ADU. However, any additions to that ADU would require the 4 foot setback, which is dictated by the ADU regulations in our code, not the provisions set forth in this item before you tonight.
Okay, so if they were to just convert it without adding any square footage, they would be able to keep the structure where it is.
That's correct.
Okay.
Then that comes from state requirements.
Okay. And then just another follow-up question. So say someone applies for to add a structure and they meet the 3 foot setback on the side and the 3 in the rear, and then 5 years from now they decide they want to add square footage and go 2 stories for an ADU. As you explained earlier, it's a 4-foot setback if you were to build an ADU now. What happens there with that extra foot?
That's correct. I can't speak for state laws constantly changing, but as it is today, an existing accessory structure could be converted at those 3-foot, potentially, let's say, setbacks. However, any addition to the first story or a second floor that only applies for detached garages must comply with a 4-foot setback. So that would need to be pushed back essentially to comply with those ADU standards.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any further question? If not, we'll open this item up for public comment. Does anybody in the room care to offer public comments on this item? Yes, please.
I'm Jennifer O'Mara, and actually my comment doesn't relate to our property, but it relates to properties in our neighborhood. We have neighbors that are close to the residential overlay district rezoning, and it doesn't really talk about that. And I feel for our neighbors that have been hugely impacted by a possible 7-story or more building possibly coming up right behind them without any of the old setback rules and the daylight rules and et cetera, and parking. And it'd be nice if those properties abutting up against them also got the 0 setback. If, because it really doesn't address the residential overlay part of that, right? So it says commercial, but not residential in this proposal. So it'd be nice if they actually had some extra liberty to shield themselves from a big 7-story building going up, right on their property line almost. So that's my only comment.
Great. Thank you very much. Does any other member of the public care to address this item in the room? If not, Martha, is anybody on Zoom that would care to address this item? No requests on Zoom. Close public comment on this item. And let me just ask staff if we could, the question that was just asked about the residential overlay zone. First, with regard to the proposed ordinance under consideration tonight, does it have any impact on the residential overlay zone? And then the extended question would be, do we have the ability to address the residential overlay zone in future amendments?
Sure. I would say on slide 12, I don't know if we can pull that up, we did consider residentially zoned single-family lots that directly abut the commercial zones by allowing a 0-foot setback. The rationale there was there's going to be less impacts since it will be a commercially zoned property. And so if you can kind of consider the rod sites are typically a commercially zoned properties. So you would have potentially a single family lot that would be allowed to have a 0-foot setback against some of these rod sites.
If I can
Please.
clarify, Mayor?
Madam City
Thank you.
Manager.
So in this scenario, the impact is to the commercial property,
Right.
which could also be a ROD property because our ROD zone is an overlay on a commercially zoned base zoning, correct? So this is a potential for the residential project to abut the property line at 0 feet because it's not as big of an impact on the adjacent commercially zoned property. They don't have to build up to the 0-foot setback, but they have the ability to.
So, Madam City Manager or member of staff, and I should, for the public's benefit, let this public know that our city manager was a professional planner for most of her career. If the concern is the 0 setback and how that impacts the residential property, what ability do we have to adjust that either with this item before us or a future item, given that it relates to our housing element?
So we wouldn't change anything in terms of the ROD regulations here. The
the impact here is to those ROD properties, not from those ROD properties.
If I could interject,
Councilmember
I
Howard.
think to be more direct, I think to the residents' idea, it's like, oh, could we use this in the ROD against those multifamily units that are going up and require that they have and I know the answer, but the question is, can we require that those multifamily buildings that are going up, could they have to have a setback so they don't impact the residential?
And the answer to that is that they already do. We
Okay.
already have setback and daylight requirements
Okay.
applicable to the ROD properties. The only difference is that they can waive it under density bonus law, whereas single-family residents do not have that
So,
option.
and that law supersedes our
That
ordinance?
is correct. It's a state law.
Okay, great. Thank
Okay.
you. Go ahead.
I was going to start if I could, unless you have
Please
another
do.
comment.
No, go for it.
I would start by saying this. Many years ago, I served as a planning commissioner on our city's mansionization committee. What was it? It was a committee with many goals that looked at ways that we could improve our code to allow for more open space and setbacks subject to state law. I can say that this issue is a quirk that certainly I didn't catch until some residents about 2 years ago brought to my attention new construction which was growing around them. We don't have pictures, or we did not have pictures in our presentation tonight, but what this quirk has allowed is on literally a cinder block retaining wall that had been there for decades, a new structure in the rear yard was going up and basically eclipsing the backyard of several residents. This was something that is allowed under the code, and that's what this code ordinance amendment is intended to address. So I'm pleased to have gotten council's attention on this. I'm grateful to my colleagues for embracing this. I'm grateful to staff and our planning commission, and I will be making a motion to approve the ordinance, but I want to hear from my colleagues.
I'll second that motion. You said it all. It's well needed. It's cleaned everything up. I'm glad somebody caught it and grateful you brought it forward.
Thank you. Any other council comments on this item? No. If not, may we have a Mayor? Yes, Mr. City Attorney, do you have a statement to make?
Just that, now that there's a first and second, I'll read the title
Please.
of the ordinance. Ordinance number 25-0012, an ordinance of the City of Manhattan Beach, amending Manhattan Beach Municipal Code, Section 10.52.050D, to update the accessory structure rear yard setback requirements in the single-family residential zone.
Thank you. Now call for the vote.
Councilmember Tarnay,
Yes.
Mayor Lesser,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Franklin,
Yes.
Councilmember Howard,
Yes.
Councilmember Sherillian.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. Colleagues, we're prepared to move forward, or we need a break?
I need a little break.
All right, we're going to take a 5-minute recess. Stay with us. We'll stand in recess.
Okay. Got you.
Oh.
Great, thank you. Call back to order our City Council meeting of November 4th, 2025, and we'll proceed with item number 11, conduct a public hearing regarding proposed fees and citations related to mobile vending business permit, and consider resolutions amending the city's comprehensive fee schedule and administrative citation fine schedule. Who will be taking the lead on this?
All right. Thank you, Mayor. Libby Bredhauer,
Great.
Finance
Thank
Director, and I will actually be turning it over to Emmy Rose Hanna, our Financial Services Manager.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Libby. Good evening, Honorable Mayor Lesser, Mayor Pro Tem Franklin, and members of the City Council. As Libby mentioned, I'm Emmy Rose Hanna, the Financial Services Manager, and I'll be leading the discussion and the public hearing this evening to consider the two primary actions, which is first to approve the proposed mobile vending business permit fees and the associated appeal fee. This action amends the city's comprehensive fee schedule. And the second is to consider approving the proposed administrative citations related to mobile vending. And this action amends the city's administrative fine schedule. So just a brief overview and some background on this item. With the recent adoption of Ordinance number 295-0011 on mobile vending, this item was introduced on October 21st, 2025, and it was also approved through tonight's consent calendar through a second reading. And this brings us to the public hearing item this evening, which will be considering the proposed fees and citations related to the mobile vending program. Just a note on the fiscal impact related to this item. Based on our analysis, the impact is minimal, considering the fees and the citation revenue would recover and offset the cost to regulate and enforce the program. Additionally, wanted to note that currently the city has 6 mobile vendors that are licensed. They have a business license with the city. So in advance of this meeting, we mailed notices to the affected businesses. And we also published a legal notice in the local newspaper and provided updates on the proposed fees and the citations on our city website. And with that, we'll now be diving into the proposed fees and citations in the next few slides. And then at the end, we'll open it up to public hearing. So to start, we review our proposed mobile vending business permit fees. And so this permit was established through the recently adopted ordinance. And in order to implement the permit, staff thoroughly explored and considered the multi-department review and the workflow that would be needed to issue a permit. Based on this internal review, the workflow would involve 5 steps as noted on this slide. So we have finance as the first step, risk management, community development, fire, and then lastly, finance to issue the permit or deny the permit. So this would be an established workflow that was developed, and it would start with finance department to intake the application from a mobile vendor. And this would be to ensure completeness of their application. It would require that the applicant submit a seller's permit and that they acknowledge that all sales taxes generated in the city would be remitted under the city's jurisdiction. Would also require the LA County Health Permit in addition to the business license certification, and then acknowledgement of operating requirements of the ordinance. Within the second workflow, under risk management, this would be to ensure that proper insurance and indemnifications requirements are met. The third workflow step would involve community development, where our traffic engineer would review the permit application along with pictures and dimensions of the mobile vending vehicle, and that this information would be documented as part of the permit. The fourth step is the fire department review, which would involve review of the application, but it would also include a fire inspection that would be performed to ensure that there's no pose to public safety risk. And then finally, the fifth step of the workflow would involve finance review to issue or deny the permit upon completeness of the workflow process. It would also involve notification to the affected city departments, including our police parking enforcement, our code enforcement, in addition to notifying the mobile vending operator, and also distributing the permit and the vehicle decal that's required as part of the permit. So based on this process I just described, the proposed fee for the permit calculates to $518, which is based on fully burdened hourly rates and the individual time involved by each department. So moving into our next component of the permit fees, we're proposing re-review resubmittal fees for the permit. Understanding that workflows are not always linear, there can be complications. Essentially, the re-review resubmittal fees would be assessed on the applicant if additional staff time is warranted upon review of an incomplete application. And so these re-review fees would be assessed individually based on the need and would not be charged collectively. So just to share an example, let's say a mobile vending business submits an application and the only non-compliant issue is their fire inspection, then that would trigger a reinspection, so they would be assessed a fire re-review fee. So that would be one instance that only one would be subject to that re-review fee. There could be an instance where multiple re-review fees are subject to the applicant. Moving into the second part is the proposed appeal fee. So the adopted ordinance that was approved tonight establishes an appeal process where an applicant has the ability to appeal the denial or revocation of a permit as long as they do so and appeal the fee within 15 days of the decision of the finance director. And so in exploring this appeal fee to remain consistent with other appeal fees on our city comprehensive fee schedule, the proposed appeal fee is set to $500 plus actual costs. So this ensures cost recovery for all the time involved in the appeal process. So the last component of this public hearing item is the administrative citation fines. And so as discussed at our last regular city council meeting on October 21st, the ordinance enables greater enforcement of the mobile vending program, where administrative citations may be issued for any violation of the chapter and the code on mobile vending. To gain compliance and to deter repeated violations of the chapter, we propose an escalating fine schedule where the first administrative citation would be set to $500, the second citation would be $750, and the third and the subsequent citation within a year would be set to $1,000. I will add that these fines would be subject to the same late penalties as provided in our code, which are applicable to all administrative citations. And so at this time, our recommended action is to conduct the public hearing, to consider the proposed fees and citations, and then adopt the two resolutions, thereby amending our city fee schedule and administrative fine schedule. Also wanted to share, if approved tonight, the permit fees and the appeal fee would go into effect beginning February 1, 2026, with a deadline to file an application by April 30th, 2026. And this is to coincide with the business license application period, since the ordinance stipulates that the process would be submitted in tandem with the license. Separately, however, the administrative citations and the enforcement activities would become effective much sooner. They would be effective December 4th, 2025, which would coincide with the effective date of the ordinance. So that concludes my presentation this evening. The next step would be to open the public hearing and discuss any feedback. And thank you for this time.
Thank you, Emmy Rose. Before I open up for public comment, I'll see if my colleagues have questions. But first, I want to ask the city attorney, if I could. There was a comment during public comment that there was a concern that the net effect of the council's actions on mobile vendors was preclusive. Can you describe a little bit more of what the actions are by council tonight?
So at this time, since the actual ordinance that establish the permit process has already been adopted by the city council. The only topic for this public hearing are the fees that have been articulated by staff. And so this is the only topic for now.
Thank you. Council members, any questions about the fees? See, Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes.
I'm going to turn on your microphone for you.
Yes, okay, thank you. Thank you, I appreciate that presentation. So on slide 3, or page 248, we talk about finance and requires compliance with, I'm sorry, the review permit application materials, including seller's permit, LA County health permit. It may be redundant, but can we say something like in good standing? I mean, because somebody may have a physical health permit, but it hasn't been updated appropriately or whatever by the LA County.
Absolutely. Thank you for the question. So the LA County health permit is required to be issued on an annual basis. So currently, even in our business licensing review, we don't issue the license unless they're in good standing that they've renewed their LA County permit. So the same requirement would be extend to the permit, that they would have to have a new approved LA County health permit on an annual basis.
Okay, great, thank you. And then, so once a mobile food vendor is working, do they have to follow the same rules in terms of portable signage, on sidewalks and things like that? I would assume.
Thank you for the question. So my understanding is they would need to abide by all of the operating requirements stipulated in the ordinance and in the code that was adopted through second reading today. I don't have the specifics on the operating requirements, but there are conditions they have to meet during their operation. I don't have the specifics on signage. That may be a question better fit for our traffic engineer, if he is in attendance.
Okay.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. Thank you for your question, Mayor Pro Tem. With regard to signage on the sidewalk, that would be prohibited as part of the operating rules. Any violation of the operating rules could be subject to citation, including one instance of that.
Okay, great, thank you. And can I just confirm those effective dates? So you say they're going to be effective December 4th, or was it 24th? I think, right.
It would be December 4th would be the effective date, which is 30 days following today's second reading of the ordinance.
Okay.
So that the enforcement and the administrative citations would take effect on December 4th.
Great. Okay. Terrific. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Any other council questions? Councilmember Tarnay.
Can you remind us, after the third violation, or
Let me make sure your
sorry.
mic's on. Go.
Okay, sorry. I'll start over here. How many violations can a person have before their permit is revoked?
Thank you for the question. So the way the ordinance reads now is after 4 violations, the finance director may revoke the permit of a mobile vending business, and that would be the trigger. They could continue to get repeated citations per occurrence, but that would be the number. It would be 4 until they could be subject to a revocation of the permit.
Thank you. And then can you just give us a brief overview of what the fees, just maybe an estimate of what the fees were before the proposed 518 permit fee?
So before the ordinance was introduced, we did not have a permit in place, so there was no fee or workflow established. So this public hearing is to consider a new fee to recover the costs of the staff time to review the permit.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Any other council questions? Councilmember Howard.
Yeah, and I appreciate the city attorney bringing to everyone's attention what we're discussing now. I will be bringing up, I want to signal it now that I will be bringing up under future agenda items how we're going, I'd like to talk more about how we're going to enforce this, because you've got traffic control, you've got code enforcement, you've got finance, and we're going to have a way to keep, understand that we're keeping track of the violations, et cetera. But I understand that we're not talking about that now, so appreciate the cost recovery aspect, and I'll bring it up later.
Councilmember Charette, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I mean, good job on this report. All too familiar about the setting up the fees, so makes sense. The only item that I have a question and a comment combo, which is having the finance department, having the finance director have the authority to revoke. That's something new we haven't done, and I don't think any other department heads have that authority. Finance is governed by a finance subcommittee. I think it's if it's a revocation process, I think it should go through the finance subcommittee and not give the authority to the.
May I form that as a question for our.
Sure.
So maybe I ask either the city manager or the city attorney whether that mechanism might be one that we would want to explore tonight as an alternative.
That's something maybe for a future agenda item.
Okay, all right, so let's return to, I'm sorry, the finance director.
Thank you. Yes, so we actually modeled this after the sidewalk vending ordinance. And in that program, it is the finance director does have the ability to revoke a permit. However, if it gets appealed, then it goes to a hearing officer.
I see. Do you have any follow-up questions?
So if this is appealed, then it would go through a hearing officer as well?
If the finance director's decision is appealed, it would go to a hearing officer.
Okay.
Which is similar to some planning and code processes as well.
Yeah, it's really interesting because a permit is regulatory, and finance really doesn't get involved in regulatory items. But if that's the case, that's the way it's set up, then that's the way it's set up. But finance doesn't issue like regulatory type things.
Okay. All right, thank you. Any other council member questions before I open up for public comment? Okay, I'd like to open this item up for public comment. Would anyone here in the room care to comment on this item on the agenda tonight? Seeing no one in the room that would like to speak on this item, is there anybody on Zoom, Martha? Yes, Tim Burton. Okay, Mr. Burton. You may proceed, Mr. Burton, if you're still there. Mr. Burton, I believe we're being told that you are on mute on your side. Unfortunately, we cannot hear you, Mr. Burton. I'm going to go back to, there we go.
Can you hear me okay?
Now we can hear you.
You know what, I apologize. I'm not sure what's happening to my sound. Just real quick, and I'll keep this brief. No issues regarding the fees. I think it's fairly straightforward. I did want to make a comment regarding safety, just because of one of the earlier comments to the public comment. I've been a downtown resident for 30 plus years here in downtown, and safety is the primary issue. We've had a lot of discussion in downtown regarding safety issues, particularly with e-bikes, sidewalk crowding, visibility at intersections. And in downtown, I think the mobile vending business is the trifecta or perfect storm of potential safety issues in downtown. There's a crowded sidewalk. There's lack of visibility with large vehicles that take up space. And I would disagree that this is not a safety issue. This is a major safety issue. I live right around the corner, and when I come by, sidewalks are blocked. And so I appreciate council's direction on this, and certainly look forward to future discussions as we may have them. Thank you for your time. Apologize for the sound.
Thank you. Martha, is there anybody else on Zoom that would care to address this item? No other items on Zoom. Again, turning to this room, anybody else have a comment? If not, I will close public comment on this public hearing item and turn to council colleagues. Anyone would care to make a motion? I see or make a comment. Councilmember Howard.
It's a motion. I mentioned that I will be bringing forward something later, but right now I would move up to approval to adopt resolution numbers 25-0123 and 25-0124.
And
okay.
I'll
go
second it, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you.
All right, there is now a motion and a second. Is there any council comment on this item? Councilmember Tarnay?
Sure, thank you. I just wanted to thank staff for pivoting so quickly to help us deal with this. I mean, it's, that's the one thing about running a city is there are things that pop up that we don't anticipate, and businesses change and evolve, and we've determined that there was a need for the ordinance, and now I appreciate this aspect of it because we've lost, staff has spent a lot of time dealing with these issues, so thank you for making sure that the city recoups money for this process. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other council comments? If not, we'll call for the vote, please.
Mayor Lesser?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Franklin?
Yes.
Councilmember Howard?
Yes.
Councilmember Tarnay?
Yes.
Councilmember Sherillian?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. We now move on to item number 12, which is consideration of additional findings resulting from further exploration of the existing Memorandum of Understanding with the Bay Club Company to construct and operate an aquatic facility. Who's going to take the lead on this?
Mayor Lesser?
Yes.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Council members, Talene Mirzakanyan, your city manager. I will shortly introduce Patty to make this presentation, but before that, I just wanted to reiterate for the benefit of the public that this is not a consideration of a replacement for Beg Pool. This is in addition to. And with that, I will turn it over to Senior Management Analyst Patricia Matson to make our presentation this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you for the introduction. Can you hear me?
Let's make sure you are fully mic'd. That's better.
There we go. Is that a little better?
A little better. Can you
Okay.
maybe speak up just a little bit?
I will.
Thank you.
Thank you for the introduction. Good evening, Mayor and members of City Council. The objective of tonight's item is to provide additional findings since City Council's September 2nd discussion.
Ms. Matson, hold on just one moment. Can we turn up her volume just a little bit, please? I think it is on, but we just need to turn it up a little bit.
Testing.
Test, test, test.
That sounds better.
Well, that is definitely on.
Okay. Thank you. Please proceed.
All right, thank you. So the objective of tonight's item is to provide additional findings since City Council's September 2nd discussion of our initial findings, and to discuss potential next steps regarding the existing Memorandum of Understanding, which I will refer to as a MOU, with the Bay Club Company for the construction and operation of an aquatic facility. By way of background, on August 20th, 2024, Council approved a MOU with Bay Club regarding their intent to construct and operate a new aquatic facility. On September 2nd of this year, Council received an update of findings from our initial discussions with Bay Club and were asked to discuss the matter and determine if staff should continue to pursue the project. Prior to making that determination, Council directed staff to continue our discussions with Bay Club to further address programming and pool depth concerns, as well as potential options to subsidize rates for users. Since that date, staff has met with Bay Club to solidify the requested information and has received answers to additional questions that arose during Council's prior discussion. We will be discussing those findings in the slides to come. As a reminder, the proposed project site for the new aquatic facility is in the parking lot to the west of Manhattan Country Club. The yellow perimeter you see here outlines, the yellow perimeter outline shows the complete parcel that is owned by the city. The area in green shows the approximate area where the facility could be constructed. The conceptual designs submitted by Bay Club and presented on September 2nd fall within that green area. And for an additional visual, it's a little hard to see up there, but you can see a black outline. It was kind of in a light blue color, but here are those proposed conceptual designs labeled as Scheme M and Scheme N. As provided in our previous discussion, both schemes fall adjacent to Manhattan Country Club. Both fall within the area that is already leased to Bay Club, where there are approximately 30 parking spaces. Both concepts maintain the location of the existing driveway to the site, as well as maintain the existing access to the senior villas. Scheme M depicts 2 pools, and Scheme N depicts 1. And in addition to the pools, each scheme includes designs to accommodate a bathhouse, which typically features restrooms, changing rooms, etc. Final designs would be determined at a later date. The following slides will include the information from our discussions with Bay Club since the September 2nd City Council meeting, and we will begin with programming. Bay Club has reconfirmed that while they would work with the city on developing the program experience, all programming and services would be provided by them, similar to how they operate their other aquatics facilities. While Bay Club would provide adequately trained staff at the facility, city staff would not be utilized to execute Bay Club's programming unless that city employee independently sought employment with them. Bay Club has also reconfirmed that they do not intend to host water polo competitions or swim meets at the facility, and that's primarily due to parking constraints and noise impacts on the surrounding area. However, training for those teams could be a potential option at the facility. During the previous council discussion, questions were asked regarding resident usage at Big Pool as well as local Bay Clubs. Resident registration at Big Pool ranges anywhere from 52 to 100%, depending on the class, with an average of 75% throughout all classes. And separate from that class data, on average, approximately 59% of lap and recreational swim participants are also residents. Bay Club has confirmed that across their beach city clubs, which includes Manhattan Beach, El Segundo, and Redondo Beach, that they have roughly 11,000 members that are Manhattan Beach residents. Bay Club has also previously estimated that more than 60% of the members that utilize their El Segundo facility and 85% of the members that utilize Manhattan Country Club are Manhattan Beach residents. Bay Club has confirmed the following details for their proposed conceptual designs. The small pool is planned to be 20 yards, but they are open to adjustments for optimal use of the space pending final designs. It would be 2.5 to 3.5 feet deep with a gradual slope and would have a minimum of 3 lanes. The large pool would have a 25-yard maximum, a depth of 4.5 to 6 feet with a gradual slope, and a minimum of 6 lanes. While City Council previously expressed potential interest in a deeper pool, 6 feet is the maximum depth Bay Club is willing to pursue, as most, if not all of their programming, requires a user to touch the bottom of the pool. The proposed depth and length of the large pool does meet high school requirements and is sufficient for water polo and swim team training purposes. Bay Club's preferred conceptual design is the one that includes 2 pools, as it would allow for more programming overall, and having a second pool that is more shallow would allow for a significant amount of programming for seniors and children. If only one pool ends up fitting in the proposed area, Bay Club would utilize the 25-yard length and 6-foot maximum depth provided for the large pool. As previously provided, Bay Club intends to provide priority access to Manhattan Beach residents, which is a key benefit to the city. They have confirmed that they would match the city's lead time provided at Beg Pool and will provide a 2-week priority lead time for 4 fee programs and classes, and a 3-day lead time on the program subject to the daily fee, which we'll cover. Additionally, our original understanding was that the facility would be for Manhattan Beach residents and Bay Club members. Since the September 2nd meeting, Bay Club has provided that they intend to allow non-residents access to the pool as well. Non-residents would be subject to a higher rate and would not receive priority access to the facility. Bay Club has confirmed that the daily use fee would be $15 and that they would not accommodate an hourly rate. Payment of the $15 fee would allow the user access to master swim, water aerobics, lap swim, recreational swim, and family swim. An individual paying that daily fee could participate in several of these programs on that day for the single $15 payment if there's availability or if they pre-registered. Payment of the daily fee would also allow the individual access to Bay Club's El Segundo or Redondo Beach clubs for the day. The user would have to utilize the proposed facility prior to visiting one of the clubs that same day, and the user would have access to that location's complimentary programs or services subject to availability. Bay Club has also provided that they would now offer a reduced daily fee of $10 to seniors over 70 and youth 12 and under. We have also confirmed that spectators or caregivers would not be subject to the daily fee if they are supervising an individual participating in programming. Bay Club would be providing a variety of 4-fee programs and has estimated that pricing for programs centered around team instruction, like swim team, would be less than $20 per class, while programs with private or specialized instruction, like one-on-one lessons or junior guards, would be $40 and up per class. Currently, Beg Pool swim team coaching breaks down to about $4 to $6 per class, while specialized instruction is $18 and up per class, except for water aerobics, which is $5 or $10 per class. Additionally, Bay Club has indicated that they typically do not raise fees annually, but fee increases would be included as a part of future lease discussions. During Council's previous discussion, there was an inquiry regarding the last time fees were raised at Beg Pool. Parks and Recreation evaluates these fees annually and adjusts them as needed to account for the cost of providing those services and market rates. And as an example, rec and lap swim fees were last increased in summer of 2020 to stay competitive with other municipal pools, while adult swim lessons were increased in summer of 2025 to reflect increased staffing costs for providing the lessons. Council requested that staff consider options to subsidize the daily use fee for residents. As I mentioned earlier, Bay Club would now be offering a reduced daily fee of $10 for seniors and youth. And if council would like to pursue a subsidy, staff would recommend the exploration of a discount program for residents. Excuse me. While we have been unable to find an example of a municipality subsidizing resident use of a private pool, there are instances of discount programs for the use of golf courses that we could explore. A point of consideration is that a discount program would require city staff to administer and manage it. Council may choose to have staff pursue an independent estimate to determine what it would cost the city to construct an aquatic facility at the same site. Staff has estimated that an assessment would likely cost $5,000 to $10,000 and recommends contacting HMC Architects, the consultants that completed the Beg Pool modernization study, as they possess the technical expertise related to pool construction. At this time, since much of the project scope is still unknown and many specifics are still to be determined, we would only be able to receive a high-level, rough order of magnitude estimate. This estimate would rely on Bay Club's conceptual designs, which they are willing to let the city use if needed. And if City Council chooses to pursue this option, staff would return with an appropriation to cover the necessary costs in the next budget update report. As a reminder, Bay Club's estimated project cost of $8 to $12 million reflects private sector construction costs. A city-led public project would likely be higher due to requirements that municipalities are subject to, such as prevailing wage. If staff is directed to continue to move forward, we anticipate the following next steps. We would update the existing MOU if required to reflect the next phase of the project. A parking study would be conducted to assess current and projected parking demand at the proposed site and surrounding area, with costs to be covered by Bay Club. Bay Club would submit a plan development plan amendment, other applicable entitlements, and would initiate the required CEQA review. These costs would also be covered by Bay Club. We would begin discussions related to lease terms. There may be the potential relocation of previously discussed monitoring wells, and we would complete additional public outreach as needed. Our recommendation for this evening is that City Council discuss and provide direction whether the city should continue to proceed with efforts to advance the project based off of the updates provided. And that concludes my presentation. Fellow staff members and myself are available for questions. And we also have representatives from Bay Club here again as well. The EVP of Construction and Development of SoCal, Pete Jones, and EVP of Manhattan Beach Country Club, Ann Morton. Thank you.
Thank you, Patty. Thank you for that report. Council members, any questions? Who would like to start? I see Mayor Pro Tem ready with his red pen.
That's right. Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate it. Patty, if for the benefit of the public, because it's not widely known, could you please just describe the land lease arrangement that we have with the Bay Club? It's the tennis, the tennis courts, even to that extent the hotel, but because it's sort of included. But can you just explain, where the city got the land, how they got the land, and the kind of arrangements that we set up with Bay Club?
So to start with that, we actually have a couple different leases with Bay Club. So the one in particular related to this project is the land adjacent to the Manhattan Country Club, and it's just in the parking lot outside of it. Oh, and the slope as well. It incorporates the slope that's there as well.
Okay. And if we were to proceed with this project, would that land lease be renegotiated?
Yes.
Because it's a change, essentially.
Yes.
Right, okay. Let's see. You mentioned that there was 30 parking spaces. It would cover these 30 parking spaces. Is there any way that we're going to make that up in that area? Because it's pretty busy with sports at the village soccer field, and there's even a play structure tucked back there.
I'll take that. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Franklin. We would have, if this project were to move forward, as part of the entitlement process, a parking study would have to be commissioned. And as part of that parking study, a couple different things would happen. There could be an analysis of whether or not there are opportunities on that site to restripe the parking areas that would be outside of this project area to see if we could capture some additional spaces. If that were to happen, we would also have to renegotiate an existing lease we have with the Manhattan Village Mall, who does also have a land lease with the city for a large number of the spaces on that property. And then the second thing that the parking study would do was complete an analysis of where there are some opportunities for shared parking in the area on neighboring sites within walking distance of this project.
Okay. And once again, that's because the city owns that big parking lot there.
Correct. We own the entire parcel, and we have 2 land leases, one to the Manhattan Village Mall for some parking spaces, and one to the Bay Club for parking spaces and a slope easement.
Okay, great. Thank you. We didn't really discuss maintenance at the new facility. Would that fall to the responsibility of Bay Club?
Yes.
The chemicals, the cleaning, if there's an annual, if there becomes a point where you have to empty it and resurface the pool walls and the like, that's all the responsibility, or would be, for?
Yes, it would be. It would be
Club.
responsibility of Bay Club.
Okay, great. And you mentioned there was some mention of a potential discount arrangement that might be made up. This is getting to the weeds a little bit, but does our existing reservation system, can it handle something like that in terms of, you know, we could sell a discounted access ticket or something through our, because we put a lot of effort into that online reservation system.
If we did want to explore an additional subsidy outside of the lowered rate that Bay Club's now offering for seniors and youth, we would need to just take some time to see how we would have that function and the logistics of it.
Okay.
And the reason being, Mayor Pro Tem, because right now that discount it's the city who is essentially waiving a percentage of that fees, but there would be a level of complexity here because we would have to be coordinating with a private entity.
Right.
And so it's a little bit more difficult than just going through our current system, which we have the ability of offering a discount essentially that applies to ourselves.
Okay, got it. Thank you very much.
Other council members with questions at this point? Councilmember Tarnay or Councilmember?
I just have one quick question, thank you. I know that the projected cost that Bay Club came up with is about 8 to 12 million to complete. And I know we don't have the figures for what it would be if the city, but do we have a rough estimate? Would it be double? Would it be, can you share what some of the potential reasons why it would be more expensive for the city to build it?
Hi, acting city engineer Gil Gamboa. One of the things when we do construction in the public through public contract code, there's prevailing wage. So the wage determination by the state of California obviously kind of increases our prices that we get for construction versus the private sector build.
Thank you. And then just another question. I know there was some confusion about whether or not this would be in place of the bag pool facility. And I know it's been clarified that this is in consideration of being in addition to. What is, and bag pool has reached pretty much the end of its useful life and we're maintaining it right now. What's the cost of our maintenance annually or, however long our maintenance schedule is?
Right now, looks like Parks and Rec might want to respond, so I'll give them the mic first.
Thank you.
800,000.
Good evening. I'm Mark Lemieux, Parks and Recreation Director. So it does fluctuate year to year, approximately, I would say $50,000 to $60,000, and we are fortunate we have a lot of in-house expertise, and we do share those costs also based on the use with the school district.
And just so that we're having this information out there now, have we looked at remodeling or rebuilding the pool at Beg and what that would entail?
Yes, we worked closely with the school district to at least make it functional short term, starting with the plumbing, and that is just being wrapped up right now. And we're also looking at replacing the decking as well as fencing.
And what is the cost of that?
The cost was, I believe, just over $100,000 for the plumbing, and the cost estimates for the decking and the fencing are still to be determined.
Okay.
And in terms of a replacement, I think you mentioned the word replacement.
Yes.
So that's a little bit different. We did, the consultants that we mentioned earlier did conduct a study that was brought to the council a while back, and the estimates for a replacement of the Beck pool ranged between 20 to 40 million. And a lot of that is driven by the significant ADA upgrades that are necessary on that site.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Sherillian?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. If we can go to slide 4, that's easy to do. Jim Burton's here. There you go.
Oh.
Thank you. First of all, thank you, Patty, for the presentation. And I heard the city manager say we're going to do a parking study, and I heard that last time as well. How many spaces are on the green highlighted that's, currently leased?
It's
Roughly?
roughly 30 spaces.
Roughly 30. Thank you. And it's mostly for the public. So you're going to take that footprint, as you're looking at it now, whenever the snapshot was taken, it looks like it's rarely used or not fully utilized potentially, or is that?
On the weekends, this is a very heavily utilized. So at this snapshot in time, it might not be, but the soccer field is heavily utilized on the weekends, and that's when we find that most of the public parking spaces are taken.
Got you. So the soccer field can utilize those spaces even though it's used, even though it's
correct, because it's not exclusive.
Got you. Okay, thank you. I guess my concern is those are 30 spaces. We're going to put potentially a pool there, and I heard what you said about additional locations that you can have shared parking and whatnot. I guess my question is, how do you accommodate? It's already busy, as you just indicated. You're going to put a pool there, even with stacking and utilizing some of the village parking. I mean, if you build it, they're going to come, and they're going to come in droves because it's going to be a beautiful pool. And now you have resident, non-resident as well. So I guess, could the decision be made after we see the parking management plan, or?
Great question. So the shared parking scenario could consider multiple, essentially donor sites for the parking. So the analysis would have to consider the baseline utilization today, and then the added demand from the proposed facility, and you'll take that number that's generated from the study and find out if there are donor sites in the area, walking distance preferably, that would be willing to enter into some sort of an agreement for a shared parking arrangement.
Okay.
That study can be done once plans are not at a conceptual stage. So that's kind of the challenge we're facing today, because in order to conduct a parking study, you have to have a more than a conceptual design. You have to understand how many pools are there going to be, what is that programming going to look like, how many members would be able to be present at one time. You'll have to have all of those details so that the modeling for the parking analysis could be accurate.
Right.
And so that does kind of put us in an unusual scenario, because typically what happens during an entitlement process is the developer already knows what the project is and has all those details, and they submit it and do that parking analysis based on those specific details, which we're currently lacking with this proposal.
My only concern is, we give you direction tonight and the parking study comes back and we're like, oh, they got to walk, 500 feet or whatever the scenario is. And I guess that's my main concern. But I love it when your planning expertise comes to light when you speak, so I appreciate that. If we can go to just a couple more questions on the fees. I think it's slide 11. Right there. So how did we come up, and we just heard finance to, deep dive into the rate process, and how did this $15 daily rate come to be?
That fee was proposed by Bay Club.
Can we ask Bay Club how they come up with that fee? Or that's a question for Bay Club?
Sure. Is this on? Thank you, Mayor Lesser. And my name is Ann Wharton. I'm Executive Vice President of Manhattan Country Club and a proud South Bay resident for 21 years. This is based on an overall ideal of what we're already seeing at Bay Clubs. And in addition to that, and as Talene mentioned, it's conceptual. So with the costs of running it, energy, water, all of these things, it's that's an estimated cost is $15.
Yes, estimated cost. Okay.
Yeah. So we operate. Pete, how many pools do we operate across the company?
Over 100 bodies of water, so probably major pools.
Yeah. So we operate 50 major pools, 100 bodies of water. And so when we take all of that data, this is what we came up with as far as an
So
estimated
ultimately,
cost.
it could be lower.
I mean, we're also doing a $10 for seniors, $10 for youth.
Got you.
Yeah.
And that's my other question. Good segue is, how did you come up with $70 for seniors as the age when it's typically
We estimate
62?
that, again, across our company.
Okay.
So as far as seniors are concerned, over 70, and 12 and under for youth.
Okay, that's all I have for now.
Thank you. Councilmember Howard.
Okay, there I go. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have several comments, but later. So I wanted to go back to, I know that we're all trying to delineate or, make it clear to the public that this is not, instead of beg pool, that we're not replacing beg pool with this project. I know that people understand that. But I want to go back to beg pool because we talked about the cost and we talked about prevailing wages. And we also talked about what the, ADA requirements would drive that cost up. And I don't know who to turn to, but is part of the ADA, part of that cost include the road that goes down to the pool from, is it Peck? So who, anybody?
I can field that question.
Okay, great.
Acting City Engineer Gil Gamboa. When we did the feasibility study for the Beg Pool site exists at the current location, it is school district property. It's located in kind of a low spot, and there's an access road that needs to be addressed. There's a few other site improvements that need to be addressed because they provide accessibility to the site.
Right.
So when you do a full build, you have to look at it in terms of accessibility and ADA and all that in terms of the bigger picture.
Right, so that road, I mean, and when you say need, I want to stress, I'm emphasizing a point here. It's demanded upon us to do that. It's not like, well, we should do this.
It'll be required.
Required, right. And is there a difference when it's a private entity versus a public entity?
The main difference when it's a private entity versus a public entity are the procurement processes, the prevailing wage. So all the state laws are a bit
So
different
obviously
from
at
public.
the site that they're proposing, they still have to make it ADA compliant.
Correct.
Yeah, and one of the things that I know, so I used to be on the school board, and the school district owns this land, right? So, and folks out there know I have been a proponent of building a new pool or, fixing Beg. And when I mean fixing, I mean building a new pool at Beg. But that's, the school district could also do that, right? They own that land. We don't own the land. They own the facility. We operate the facility. That's it. We have poured hundreds of thousands of dollars and millions of dollars into the pool for decades. And when I was on the school board, back when I was a baby, we wanted to improve the showers, right? We know that the showers aren't the greatest, I've heard, in the bathrooms, but that especially triggers ADA. And it doesn't just trigger the ADA in that space, that triggers ADA across the facility. Is that not correct?
That's correct. It triggers ADA across the site.
The site. So when we talk about, well, we can just keep upgrading Beg Pool, we or the school district really cannot do much more for much longer. So at some point, there's going to be I'll save those comments. That's a comment. Let me go back to questions. So, back to the parking study, I think I understand that, you wouldn't do a parking study at this phase unless you had approval of conceptual, correct?
It's not about approval of conceptual, it's about having more developed plans and programming.
Okay.
So that the analysis could be at least accurate when the council is considering making a decision.
If we were considering. And so the reason the Bay Club is setting the price and the reason that they would be paying for the parking study is because they are the ones that will be, they are operating it as a profit. There's nothing wrong with that. But we have no we are not going to be running the programming. We are not going to be making, well, we are going to be making money because we're going to be doing a big land lease deal with them, right? So that's where it's a financial, could be financially profitable. I guess my question would be, I think we've already determined that Beg Pool is highly utilized. I mean, we've had many swimmers in here, and so there's a lot of, we need more waters. That's correct, right, Director Lehman? Okay. But do we know, is that land over there, is a pool the highest and best use? Have we done a study on that piece of land? So, could it be another hotel with TOT? I mean, a city could, we own that land.
I just wanted to have you clarify, you're not talking about the Beg location.
I'm not talking
You're
about Beg. That's,
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Right.
That is on the school district, and they passed a $250 million bond, so maybe they can do that. But what is the have we done a study on the highest and best use there?
Not recently that I know of, maybe in the past before my time.
When I was a baby.
I can't verify that
Okay.
in this moment.
Okay.
But as far as the last 5 years, I know we have not done such an analysis.
Okay.
I would only say that one thing to keep in mind is for the property as a whole, there could be some impacts from Surplus Lands Act in the way we go
That's
through
right.
a process for developing it for something other than a public
Well,
use.
and that actually, one last question. If we do, so that actually is part of my question. If we were to go forward and say, well, let's do a highest and best use because maybe we want to do something else, would it also open it up then to a developer for some sort of housing project?
Potentially based on Surplus Lands Act, it would
Yeah.
give an opportunity for someone to come in and purchase the property.
Okay. Those are my only questions until comments.
I want to go back and just get some basic information out there for members of the public. And that is, what we're talking about here would be on city land. We would be leasing this property to the Bay Club. Is that correct?
Correct.
So that would be a revenue stream for the city, but it's on public land.
Mm-hmm.
In addition, Bay Club would be paying for the construction of this proposed pool or pools,
Yes.
as well as the operation costs.
Correct.
So confirm what the city expenditures would be going forward.
Bay Club they're, as you mentioned, they're doing the construction, the operation. There haven't been any identified costs to the city at this point in time.
The one thing I'll add is that we would likely be paying for some support during the lease negotiations, so from a financial advisor.
Okay. The Bay Club, as I understand it, is separately, and this was referenced, I think, in this staff report, a second pool on its existing site. Is that correct?
In a separate project application for the Manhattan Beach Country Club, there's a planned development entitlement in process, and I can turn over to Adam for more details. But yes, there is a proposal for a second pool.
I just want to confirm, because what we'd be talking about is potentially then 4 pools, one large, one small, under the proposed scope of what we're talking about tonight. But then potentially, if the Bay Club goes forward with its own proposal, they would have a second pool for their membership, correct?
That is correct. Adam Feinstone, Planning Manager. Yes, they've got a proposal in the works right now. It's undergoing CEQA review at this time in order to expand their facility, do a few things on the site, including demolition of the existing office building that's adjacent to their structure, and increasing the one larger pool. And I believe that there's another spa kind of community area as well. They could probably provide that information, but it is, as City Manager Mirzakhanian stated, it is a separate project unrelated to the aquatics facility.
I'd like to return to the city manager because we started talking with you about the parking supply, and that is a tremendous concern for me, particularly having coach teams on that field and known how much utilization that parking lot has, and more already with the existing utilization of Village Field, but also with just access and egress up and down that road when there's drop-off and pickup and cars coming and going. I'm just wondering to what extent, if we know that the parking is likely going to be challenged before we undertake a parking study, do we need to be contemplating what would be involved in building a supplemental lot on that site above ground? I'm just wanting to be realistic. I was asking about cost to the city, but to the extent that we find in a parking study that's subsequently produced that we are short parking and that there is a need for a parking lot, I'm just trying to understand a chronology here and, more importantly, budget to be able to build parking capacity there.
So the best case scenario is that the shared parking analysis would come back with plenty of opportunities. Right now, there are parking opportunities in that area for a shared parking arrangement. It would be in a circumstance where some of those property owners aren't interested in entering into a shared parking arrangement, where there would truly be a deficiency, and the city may want to consider increasing the parking supply on the site.
Okay, I have to ask, we're going to be negotiating a further agreement if there's council direction to move forward, but it's quite possible the Bay Club could be sold to a subsequent owner. And I wanted to confirm how the terms of this agreement would inure to a successor and interest owner. And I'm happy to open the answer to that. Sure.
So typically, well, let's take the existing lease. The country club was sold about 4 or 5 years ago. Mm-hmm. And so we go through a process of the due diligence, and the city takes a look at the prospective owner, and all the rights and obligations of the lease get transferred to the subsequent owner.
Do we have the ability to set fees in a way that would then apply to successor owners, particularly if there's a term set? Because this is a common concern we're hearing from residents about the fees for utilization, and particularly given increases for members of the Bay Club and how that might apply to utilization of the pool.
Yeah, if it's part of the revised lease or the amendment to the lease, that would be one of the terms that the prospective owner would have to comply with.
Two more questions. Thank you for your indulgence, colleagues. Programming. There's been a discussion about how community program would differ from the Bay Club's own operations, and I guess I want to better understand what we lose here, even though this is operating, it's envisioned to operate coterminous with BEG for as long as we have the ability to use BEG. I'm just wondering what type of programming we would be giving up if ultimately BEG has to close and we've now dedicated our public land for this arrangement with this aquatic facility. And maybe I'm looking to our Parks and Rec director.
Yes, thank you for the question. So the plan would be to maintain, again, the current programming, and currently we do have competition with South Bay Aquatics, with the Bay Club, with El Segundo, and so we really don't anticipate any significant changes to programming. You know, again, obviously, if Big Pool was to close, you know, at some point in time, we would have to reevaluate. But again, I don't think that if an additional pool was built, that would impact significantly any of our programming currently.
At Beg Pool?
Correct.
So long as Beg Pool is open?
Correct.
But if Beg closes and then we're left with this pool as a public pool, we would then give up certain programming, correct?
Correct. It would
and that programming includes what?
Across the board, it would all be in the hands of Bay Club, from lap swim, master swim, aqua aerobics, you know, our
okay.
junior
Final
guard program.
Question, there was a reference in the staff report to an independent cost estimate to evaluate the cost to the city to construct its own pool on the site, obviously subject to prevailing wage. But what would be the time to undertake that study? How long would it take to do that if council wants that information before deciding whether to proceed with the Bay Club?
We would have to procure one of our on-call consultants to perform the high-level estimate, but we could probably come back in about 3 months to do that.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, colleagues, for indulging me. Do other colleagues have follow-up questions? Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes. I was a little confused about that that same study. Didn't we go through that with Love MB? And I'm trying to remember, did we use a consultant to give us that $20 to $40 million estimate?
We did.
It's a different site, which would
That was for the Beck Pool site.
Okay, so it's the fact that it's a different site
Yes.
there are a lot of ADA challenges. Trigger that.
Mhm.
Okay. I also want to clarify utilization of the El Segundo or Redondo Beach Bay Club for the day only after utilizing the MB facility. So, gosh, if I was a senior over 70, I would pay $10, but I would have to use the new pool first, okay, swim my laps, and then conceivably, if I went over to El Segundo to use the weights or something like that, are there things that I cannot do there at the El Segundo or the Redondo Beach facility, or is it just simply?
It would be, the user would be able to use their kind of complementary programs, whether it's a weight room or maybe a yoga class, but anything that's private instruction that you would have to pay additional for, you would not have access to that.
Okay. So it gets me in the door for essentially non-fee activities within.
And they mentioned, as I said, weight room or use of their sauna, those kinds of amenities.
Okay. So to help us and to help the residents understand this a little bit more, would it be appropriate to call up the Bay Club representatives to sort of explain what's in it for them and as part of the discussion?
If I might suggest, and I really am receptive to what colleagues want to do, if you have specific questions for the Bay Club, we can ask them, but otherwise I would want to open it up for public comment and allow them to provide their public comment. But do you have specific questions?
We've got access now to the facility, and that's $10 for anybody over 70, and also the $15 for everybody else, except for the youth 12 and under. They're also $10. So it just applies for the day. Just trying to get my.
Would you like to call up a representative of the Bay Club to clarify them?
Yeah. I mean, I just.
Understood. I want to make sure we hear.
I was a member there 25 years ago, and I don't know what they've added, I guess is what I'm saying.
We're happy to answer any questions, and I will say that it's been a pleasure to work with the city team on this. Talene, Patricia, Jesus, Mark, and the entire team. It's been a pleasure to work with you all on this. So, happy to answer any questions.
Okay, so I walk through the door.
Okay.
What can I do?
You walk through the door of the pool itself?
Well, no. So I paid my $10. I swam in the new pool. Okay, and now I drive over to El Segundo.
So that would go along with a Bay Club membership.
It's not accessible.
Right. So, but you would then have reciprocal access. So if you had a Bay Club membership at El Segundo, Redondo Beach, Santa Monica, etc., you would have access to that pool complimentary.
No, I guess I've already swum in the pool, the new pool,
right,
in Manhattan Beach.
Right.
So when I read this, it says allows access to El Segundo or Redondo Beach Bay Club for the day only after utilizing the MB facility. So I walk through the door. What can I use there at the El Segundo facility?
You can use the weight room.
Can you identify who you are, please?
I'm sorry. I'm Pete Jones. I'm Executive Vice President of Construction and Development for all Bay Club properties in Southern California. I'm also a co-founder of the Bay Club back in 1977.
Great. Thank you, sir.
So to answer your question, once you're in the club, it depends on which club you enter, but most of the most common facilities are the weight room, yoga studios, group exercise studios, gymnasium for if you wanted to play basketball, Trying to think.
You can purchase fruit drink or
Oh,
food,
sure.
things like
There-
that.
There's food and beverage facilities of various levels at various of the other properties.
The locker room, like that
Yes.
you were like, okay.
Yes, saunas, steam rooms.
Sauna, steam room. Okay. Great.
So I'm going to ask the follow-up.
Thank you.
So does the MOU or the agreement that's anticipated with the city, if council directs this to go forward, contemplate that members of our community on a day pass basis, after using what would be one or two new pools, can also access other locations of the Bay Club, or does that require an additional membership fee to the Bay Club?
No, for that day, my understanding is that there would be no charge for that day once you use the Aquatic Center pool.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great.
Any other council member questions?
Yeah,
Councilmember
I have
Shurian.
one. I didn't hear what you said, so if the $15 per day, if I go in and pay it, I have access to the two pools in the locker area, and I also have access to the Bay Club? Is that what I heard? I just want to make sure.
You have access to the Bay Club El Segundo, the Bay Club Redondo Beach, but you would not have access to Manhattan Country Club.
Thank you for clarification. City Manager, quick question. The senior villas that are there, the ingress and egress is off that easement slope, correct?
If we could pull up the slide, I could help
Thank you.
direct the council to where the ingress and egress is. So the conceptual plans would not interrupt the ingress and egress for the senior villas, which is just to the west of the triangle where the pool is depicted on Scheme M and Scheme N.
Got it. And then, again, going back to the parking, whatever we end up doing, whether it's restriping or whatever solution, if it's on that footprint and we're intensifying the parking utilization there, is there any concern of the seniors still being able to comfortably get in and out? And how much public outreach have we done with the seniors?
Do you want to answer the public outreach part?
Sure. We have sent notices for the September 2nd as well as this meeting to their representative at the villas. So they did receive notification of the meeting.
And we know they received it because we did get a public comment last time, I believe. Any potential proposal moving forward should not impact ingress and egress to the senior villas. That would not be an option.
And how many units are at that villa? Approximately like 100? How many residents are there?
I don't know off the top of my head.
And then another public outreach question is, and apologize if this is already answered, but have we surveyed, we like to survey, so how did we surveyed residents, would you pay for a family of four $60 a day to go swimming? And how many people answered yes or no, if we surveyed?
For this particular site?
Mm-hmm.
No, we have not conducted a survey.
Is there a reason?
If the council would like to direct us to do that, surveys come at a cost, so we would have to understand if the council is interested in conducting an informal survey, a formal survey, statistically valid. We would need some direction from council on that.
Okay, thank you. I'm just concerned of, for our, for our residents in town, how important and priority this is, and how much, and if they would pay that price to go to the pool. That's it.
There was a survey conducted as a part of the Beck Pool effort, but that did not address this particular scenario, of course.
No, it would be this. Okay, thank you.
I do have a follow-up maybe from Mr. Jones, the head of construction. Is that right, sir? If you could come to the podium one more time.
Sorry.
This was mentioned in, I'm sorry, your last name, sir?
Jones, Pete Jones.
I just want to make sure I've got it correct. It was mentioned in passing, there's an option for one or two pools, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And the Bay Club has a preference, is that right?
Yes.
And that would be for how many
pools?
The smaller pool, can you just describe its functionality because it seems, and its size, because it seems rather small?
Well, the presence of a second pool expands the flexibility of programming greatly, because you have swimming lessons for, if you have a 2-year-old, you wouldn't take him into the big pool, you'd give him his lesson in the smaller pool. If you have seniors who are interested in aqua aerobics classes, they'd probably enjoy being in a 2.5 to 3 foot pool rather than a 4 or 5 foot pool. It's a question of how many different kind of aquatic populations you're trying to serve simultaneously.
Okay, thank you, sir. I know Mayor Pro Tem Franklin, you had a follow-up question as well?
No, that answered it.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, unless there's any further council questions, City Manager?
If I may, Mayor Lesser, so there are 104 units at the senior villas, and I remembered that Bay Club had done this, but I wanted to verify before I mentioned this. The Bay Club did hold a preliminary community meeting with the senior villas, and we had included that in our report from September.
Okay, and the senior villas does have its own parking lot, but often it can fill up, right?
Correct.
Okay, all right, thank you. In which case, I would like to open this item up to public comment for members that are the public that are here in the council chamber. If you'd like to address council, please, if you could go to the podium in the rear.
No, I'm just going to
Stand up. Would any member of the public care to address this item who's here in the room tonight? Okay, seeing none. Is there anyone on Zoom that would like to address this item, Martha? No requests on Zoom. So, for members of the public that are here in this room tonight, going once, going twice. All right, we will close public comment and turn it over to council. Councilmember Howard.
Thanks. I'm so excited to go first here. So, all right, everybody. So, I mentioned before, we don't own the land that Beg Pool is on. Oh, sorry. That's okay. And so we kind of have to, in my view, we need to look at this project completely separately and apart. This is in addition to, it doesn't replace. We don't lose anything except potentially the use of that land for something else. But we get lease revenue. We get the revenue from leasing. And we don't pay anything to run it. We are not operating this pool. We are not providing programming. It is simply additional water. It's more water for people to use. It's not for our classes. There will be swimming probably lessons operated by the Bay Club that if people want to participate in, they can. So it's added, right? It's an added bit of water. It's an added option. And I do, I have strong feelings about Beg Pool and the fact that there were so many dedicated residents who wanted to collaborate. I have spent, there's nobody, I don't think there's anybody in this town who's been a bigger proponent or driver of collaboration with the school district than myself. I don't think you can argue that. And we've hit a brick wall. There's no collaboration. And that angers me. So when you hear me talking tonight, this is what you're hearing. Because we've missed an opportunity there. Now, in the defense, I suppose, of decisions that were made there, the polling that they did before they passed their $250 million bond, and I will get to this is germane. The way you ask questions, people maybe didn't want to pay for, use that money for a pool. So we just keep throwing our hands up. We've been throwing our hands up in the air since I've been on council, at least, in terms of building a new pool, because it's so darn expensive, because we have to do, the whole site is a nightmare. But we keep throwing our hands up and say, well, we're just going to have to put some gum in the cracks and hope it doesn't end. You know, we'll figure out something. And it's proving very difficult to figure out something. I mean, the work that has gone into that beg pool in the past 3 years by a really dedicated group of residents, parks and rec commissioners, really incredibly skilled people, didn't yield results. And so I want you all to hear that, because it's kind of dire. It's certainly not very doable right now to do anything there. So, to me, the only decision is, are we, do we not want to do anything on this site because we want to hold on to it, you know, for either a hotel or maybe our own pool? So, Mayor Pro Tem Franklin brought up an excellent point. Could we build our own pool there? We could. I think it was you. I'm going to give you credit. And it would probably cost less than it would be to rebuild beg. And I know nothing, but there wouldn't be such the ADA challenges that we have at the beg site, but we'd still have to pay prevailing wage. It would cost a lot more than it's going to cost the Bay Club. So, you know, the Bay Club is studying, if we decide to enter, so the next steps are update the existing MOU, conduct a parking study that the Bay Club will cover. The Bay Club will then have to submit a plan development amendment, initiate CEQA, and then discussion of lease terms, yada, 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 sorry. They're putting the money into this. Okay, we don't set the price. We don't set the programming. It's not our pool. It's our land that we could, you know, negotiate a pretty good lease for. That would be which would be more revenue than we've been making now, right? And we're not maintaining it. So we don't lose anything there, we don't pay anything, and we will at least have provided some overflow water. Thanks, Jill, for laughing at that. For our residents, we will have done something. You know, I asked some pretty pointed questions the last time the Bay Club executives came here, because I was concerned about water polo, I was concerned about all these other things, and I feel I did some due diligence in that regards, but I also understand now that's a subset of swimmers, right? That's a very important subset, but we can't please everybody in this scenario. So I, for one, would support moving forward. I appreciate that they've lowered, so here's what I appreciate. I appreciate they've lowered the cost for seniors and youth. I've appreciated that they've said there's no charge for a caretaker or a spectator. And it's kind of cool that if I should choose to go swimming, that then I could use the Bay Club. That was a nice addition. So I appreciate all the concerns. I mean, and I appreciate all the questions about, but that's expensive for, you know, it is expensive. It's not, we're not operating it. It's additional. So I'm going to be moving forward with this just so we can get some more water, so we can provide some more access. So maybe some people will go there. You know, think about this. Maybe I can't afford, if I chose to do any physical activity which involved water, maybe I can't afford to go to the Bay Club, but other people can, which would open up beg for me, right? So understand that it is going to provide more access even at beg until it falls apart. So I'll be supporting it, and those are my initial comments. So there you go.
Thank you. Councilmember Tarnay.
Thank you. I appreciate all the time and effort that's been put into, and including from the Bay Club as well. I think, you know, we, as Councilmember Amy Howarth pointed out, this is a very difficult, challenging issue that our city has really explored for years, probably decades at this point. And there are no easy solutions. Either we pay our own pool and undertake, you know, paying for it if we can't stomach being wedded long-term to a party that we may not have as much control over. So what I'd like for my analysis to be able to make a determination in the long run is to keep both discussions going, right? I'd love to be able to get an assessment on how much building our own pool will cost so that our residents get an understanding, because at some point, bag pool is already past its useful life. My son lifeguarded there for the last 3-4 summers, so I know how difficult and how and my kids swam there as well when they were little, so I understand the volume that it's already been being used. And a consideration is, will some of those programs be shifted over to a partnership pool with Bay Club if we were to build that, so that it does open up more time for residents and the youth, the younger kids, to be able to use it for swim lessons. So these are considerations that I'm going to continue to ask as we proceed into exploring both options, and then really asking our residents, if they build it, will they come? Will people go and use that pool at $15 an adult? Because if they don't use it, then essentially what I see is, unfortunately, it'll be a situation where public land, although we do get money from the lease, is being used primarily by a private entity, and our residents are still going to choose to use bag pool only. So that's what I'd like to know. So a survey, thank you for that suggestion. I think a survey would be helpful. So my inclination, I think I'm having feedback now.
Mr. Mayor, can I ask a clarifying though?
I mean, I'd like to go to.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Councilmember Tarnay, were you finished? And your mic, I think, is
oh, yeah.
you're off.
Is it off now?
I think it's on. Can you turn it on for you?
Yeah. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, there it goes. I can't even see if it's on or off with my glasses off. Sorry about that. So I think just having both of those considerations would be helpful and for us to figure out in the long term. And then I know it's a hard thing to do when we're trying to figure out, we're trying to put the cart before the horse and trying to move this project along. But there are going to be, it's going to come down to, the devil's going to be in the details with what kind of expectations the Bay Club has on the way, what happens if after 5 years they want to double the price because it's not economically working out. We're going to need to know those terms. If they want to retain full control, do we have any control over that? So those big questions, I'd like to have some, even though we're not at the point where we're talking in details about the terms. But if it's a no-go and they say, no, we completely retain all control over fees, then I'd like to know that so that we don't waste their time and they don't waste our time. So, I think I would support further exploration, but I also want us to engage in a second tract where we are considering doing it on our own and to see how expensive, because at some point our residents are going to have to decide, do we want to pony up the money and build it ourselves, or do we want to get married and be in a long-term relationship with Bay Club? So,
thank you.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Can I add one more thing? So sorry. And the way that I would, if we decide to wed Bay Club, is I'd see that as the same kind of thing that we have with Metlocks, right? We have a land lease with them. They control who they rent to. They control everything else in there. And so in some respect, we could view it in that way, and so that people can conceptually understand what that looks like, because the city owns the property at Metlocks, but we don't really have any control over the stores, or we don't get profits. They do pay a fee for their lease on there. So thank you.
Great. Councilmember Schuett.
Thank you. Everything Councilmember Tarnay said. Just a high level, I too would like to explore the options. Director Lehman, correct me if I'm wrong, with that swim study or the swimming pool study at BEG, it was the $25 million redoing of the pool and then a double pool for like $40 million, something like that. So it is within reach if the city wants to do something at that location, and I think it would, we need to give Jesus Sandoval a new project and a new pool to program for the next generation to come and have control of it. I think we have that responsibility to the residents and taxpayers of this town, and they spoke volumes. Our residents and recently approved Measure MMB, and part of that, it was a general tax, but part of that was for future capital improvement, and this fits into that bill. We're a beach city. We have lots of water, or we have some water. We have lots of beach water, but no land water. But I think we just explore our options, and I would really like to see, and it is going to be a different cost of, not having to remodel and put a new pool at Bag versus this land here. So, and everything else Nina said. Thanks.
Mayor Pro Tem Franklin.
And don't forget, we got Pollywog Pond. We can perhaps swim in.
You swim first.
Right.
Yeah, complete with geese.
Right. So this has been a very informative session. These talks have been going on for quite a while. Remember that the Bay Club already has a pool, so their members are going to be using that one. Remember that they want to build a new one, on the east side of their property, so that's going to be another pool for their members only. So I'm not saying that the one that we're proposing here is going to be exclusively for Manhattan Beach residents and then also non-residents, but there's going to be a lot of water over there. And this is going to have the same programming. It's going to have I'm sure the same kind of temperature control with the water. I'm in favor of the two-pool solution because the kids just love it. It's a great introduction to water for pool safety, for water safety to the children. And remember, too, that existing residents can go to beg. We just don't know how long that's going to last, and the school system has shown an appetite not to improve it. I mean, they went out with that bond measure, as you indicated, Councilmember Howarth, and the relationship. And I can understand they got their primary focus is education, and it is water safety for the starting with the middle schoolers, and it's convenient to the middle school. But essentially, that's their situation that they have to deal with, and they have to encumber themselves probably moving forward to fix it. So it's a solid solution. We do have to figure out some of the details, but remember too, just along the Rosecrans corridor, there are 3 apartment building complexes going up with close to 300 units in each one. That's 900 apartment units times, figure 2 or 3 people in each one. They're not going to go to beg. They're going to go to a pool like this. I think a lot of residents are going to be drawn here. Now let's look at the discrepancy between what we're paying now at beg and what the $10 and $15 fee. We have not, Parks and Recreation Director Lehman, you said we have not adjusted the fees since 2020 for beg?
It's independent. It's listed on the attachment.
Oh, yeah.
It varies by program. So
Right.
again, each year we evaluate all of the programs, and those are adjusted based on the market rate for each year. Because
Yeah.
we look to make sure it's
But general
self-sustaining.
admission, if you just want to go and swim,
Well, that's
and
from
do
$3
laps.
for resident, $5 for non-resident.
So, I'm sorry.
$3 for
Okay,
resident,
$3.
$5 for non-resident.
So that is unsustainable. So that's going to be going up anyway. So maybe it gets closer to that $10 mark in the case of seniors, or the $15 mark in the case of everybody else. So realistically, the $10 and the $15 is not out of range based upon, how costs have been going up. Plus, we got to maintain big pool. We got maintenance costs. We got chemical costs, that type of thing. So, the senior, the senior villas, those people could go over and use it. Water therapy is really good as we age, and and they're very enthusiastic, right? over at Beg, they're in there. They're doing their workouts. The additional amenities that you would get to be able to go over to the El Segundo property. I asked about weights because lifting weights is very important, for anybody of any age, but particularly as we get older. It strengthens our bones. It makes us more fit, more able to survive a fall, that type of thing. You can go there and play basketball. You can go there and use the sauna. It's just amenities that just aren't at Beg, and will never be there. So in terms of recreation, in terms of health of our population, we're a very healthy, health-oriented community. I think it'll only be an enhancement for that. With the financial burden of the maintenance of Beg, we could look into some sort of subsidy program that's on a needs base, based upon an income base, to help mitigate the $10 and the $15 charge for our residents. So I'm in favor of going forward with all the exploration that we talked about here. I think there's some in that study, that True North statement or study, when we were talking about Beg Pool to begin with, but generally about a pool. So.
Even in our 2025 community survey, which was a statistically valid survey, the one question that included something about a pool, and that was really phrased as reconstruction and improvement of Beg Pool. That was under city spending priorities, and there were 13 things listed, and reconstruction and improvement of Beg Pool came in at number 7.
Number 7, okay. So it's in the top third. So, well, how many did you say there was?
7 out of 13.
7 out of 13. Okay, it's in the middle. Just a nudge up, from the middle. A nudge down from the middle. So, in any case, we've been hearing about it a lot, and this is an opportunity, and I believe we should explore it. So, thank you.
For my comments, I want to express gratitude again to the Bay Club for providing this opportunity for an additional aquatic facility for our community and our community members. There are many positives, as was just discussed. This is a backup for the Beg Pool. It's not going to be able to be maintained for too much longer. I hate to make predictions because these predictions have been made for an almost 80-year-old facility over and over again. But the costs to rehabilitate the pool at that site, let alone to build a second pool, are prohibitively expensive. This would be positive for our community insofar as the Bay Club would pay for construction, for operation, and provide the city with lease revenue. It would also be, frankly, a win for the Bay Club because they would have additional water, which would add to their valuation to the extent they were exploring a sale at some point. But I have concerns still. I have concerns about the loss of community programming as has been described, and I am concerned about the costs. It's indicated that costs are going up, but the fact of the matter is we have some residents of our community that will be challenged to afford the costs that are being proposed at the new pool site. That is a concern for me, particularly because notwithstanding all these benefits, this pool would be built on public land. So I'm challenged with this notion of what is our fiduciary duty on behalf of those community members who would need a public pool at such time that Beg is no longer available. I also, as I've mentioned, as was consistently brought up previously, I'm concerned about the traffic flow, particularly impacting those in the Manhattan Senior Villas, as well as those making use of the Village Field, and parking. To the extent that we are not able to share parking with some of the adjacent facilities there, who's going to build the sufficient parking to park this new pool facility? That is a concern for me, and we won't know until we have more data and more of a concept. I also want to ensure that any agreement we draft is applicable to a successive owner. I mean, the fact of the matter is the Bay Club is owned by a private equity entity. Private equity flips in time. we have to be sure that the terms of this agreement are those that we're willing to live with for our community for some years to come. So that's going to be an important criteria for me. But where I come down to bring this to a conclusion and move it forward before I ask for consensus on a way to move forward is I support the idea of the 2 tracks, which Councilmember Tarnay and Councilmember Cerulean bring up. And I'd like to figure out a way that we can incorporate the comments of Councilmember Haworth as well as Mayor Pro Tem Franklin on moving forward with the Bay Club facility, but also give direction to staff to explore what would be a city constructed facility, which we may ultimately determine is simply not feasible from a cost standpoint. But I agree with the idea of the 2 tracks. So comments on how we can now kind of wind this up and give staff direction. Councilmember Haworth.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I did have a couple follow-ups. I appreciate trying to move forward. I do appreciate the concerns, like it's a different mechanism, if you will. It's a different paradigm, and I think we are also used to the big pool model, and I'm not, so I appreciate, Mr. Mayor, you wanting to move it forward. But I wanted to point out, we've said a few times, well, it's public land, and this will be a private entity. We own the land that the country club is on. We own the land that West Drift is on. We own land, so we need to, I don't think I'm sorry, I just don't think that's really, we own the land, so we lease it to private entities all the time. So if that's what we do. Now, we can control, and so what I appreciate, I think what I'm hearing is we're still going to have to go through negotiations, right? And one of those negotiations would be what happens if they sell, right? Because West Drift, or the hotel, whatever, it was Marriott, now it's West Drift, right? There's different, people buy and sell things, businesses all the time. So we should be able to protect ourselves on that. And actually, it's kind of, every time those businesses turn over, we renegotiate a higher lease. So I think we can protect ourselves, and I'd like to see us. I want to ask staff a question about both parking. So let's say that I think I'm going to ask the city manager. I've got 2 questions, I think. City manager, Bay Club has said they would conduct the parking study. They would pay for the parking study. So you've heard from all of us, Councilmember Shirley and Mayor Lesser, they're concerned about traffic, they're concerned about parking. If it was determined that there needs to be parking built, we're not suggesting that we would offer to build that, correct?
Correct.
Okay, because that would make my head explode.
That is not what we're asking,
right.
council. Yes,
okay.
That's correct.
That's number one. But so we still need to see a parking study. And then Bay Club gets to decide, do we want to spend that money if we have to build something? They may at that point say no. And so that's one thing. So I want to ask how kind of practical, I love the idea of, hey, could we build our own pool there? And maybe it's like I presented, cheaper than doing it at BAG, so could we do some sort of study? So I want to ask about the practicality of that. I think you said we could come back in 3 months' time, or so. Who said that?
I said that. Gil Gambo.
Here we go. We're fast and loose here. Yeah.
We would have to procure a consultant and set the parameters for everything that we want to come back with.
So thank you. Sorry. So that's fine, but and is that going? I guess I don't know through the city manager. If we decide to just explore that, is that something to have? Are people saying they want to have that in their back pocket, or do they want to hold up making a decision until they hear that? Because that would set off a whole new process. So this does relate to what you're trying to do, to try to move forward with both things. But I'm worried that that's hard to do. So, and I did want to make that point about private, public. That to me is kind of a but that's to me. So
maybe we ask the city manager, if I might,
please,
just to respond to the concern.
I think it takes additional resources to do both, but we could I think we could figure out a way to be able to bring the proposal or cost estimate to council, and it sounds like potentially 3 months. In the meantime, if you wanted to move forward with that second track, that would put the burden on Bay Club at this point to further develop what is now a conceptual set of plans to the point where it's more definitive, and we have the programming set so that we could actually move forward with some studies.
Do you want to?
Councilmember Haworth, unless anyone else has a question.
It's a question, not a comment. But so, do we need to ask if if that impacts Bay Club? I mean, its decision, because that would affect my decision tonight to go forward on that study.
My recommendation is to ask Bay Club if they would be willing to take a next step, which would obviously create some costs for them, to develop a more definitive set of plans and programming options so that some technical studies could be conducted.
Okay. So without objection, I would ask a member of the Bay Club to come forward and confirm if they would be receptive to proceeding before we take a vote.
Yes, of course. I was hoping to get a chance to speak because when I came here to the meeting, I thought I was simply going to limit my comments as a respondent to questions, but I feel I'd like to make a brief statement. At the Bay Club Company, our culture is extremely important to us, and one of the pillars of that culture is philanthropy. And be there no mistake about it, our offer to build the Aquatic Center is pure philanthropy and loaded with risk, which we welcomely assume because we are a member of this community and we intend to be a member of this community, and we want to be a partner because we live here. We live here. There is no other reason why anybody would offer to spend $8 to $10 million, and I don't know this for a fact, but I would be very surprised if in these United States there are very many municipal pools that are profit making. I think probably, unless they were a host of a junior Olympic swim team with a 50-meter pool, we are going to be subsidizing this facility for probably the length of the lease. And so if for those people who might think that we are rubbing our hands together because we think this is a huge profit-making opportunity, they're missing the point. This is philanthropy. Just as the $1 million that we've offered to, and still on the table, to help subsidize the construction of the renovation of the beg pool, there's nothing, it's pure philanthropy. And that's what this is. So I'm not trying to make a sales job here. I'm just trying to say, yes, we will take the next step. We'll develop more specific plans. I don't think that the outcome of the parking study is going to be a surprise to anybody in this room. But I think we have to do it anyway because we have a fiduciary responsibility to do that. We can't move forward on hunches. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Councilmember Tarnay.
Thank you. I appreciate that, and I think anybody who's dealt with community pools I've heard challenges that El Segundo has had even with their new pool and definitely their old pool at the plunge. And my only suggestion on bringing the other track and making sure so that our residents know that we're performing our fiduciary duties, which is to ensure that we explore all options, that later on people don't come back and say, oh, Big Pool is paying all of you, Bay Club is paying all of you guys off to build this, that it's some, money making. So I hope you realize, you understand that that's where I'm coming from in proposing that second track, because I do understand it's, I'm thinking how many years you'd have to charge at $10 or $15 a person before you'll and also cover the maintenance costs. So I completely understand that it's a costly endeavor, and I appreciate that you are philanthropically minded and you understand that we do need another pool. I think across the board, residents, old and young alike, understand Beg Pool and our high school pool, they're just not sufficient. So we do want another pool. So I appreciate your thoughts on that. And, I think it is still our fiduciary duty to ensure this is the best path forward, and so that we go into it with more information.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is there a motion so we can actually work with something in way of direction moving forward? Someone like to make a motion?
Sure. I will try to articulate this into a motion. My motion is to continue discussions with Bay Club, update the existing MOU if it's necessary at that point in order to move into the next exploratory phase of, giving, what's the word, the necessary information that the city needs in order to conduct a parking study.
Wait, what's it's the motion, I think,
It's a two-track motion.
yeah, but I think make that, and these are the next steps. We don't need to approve all the next steps. We just need to decide if we're gonna go forward with the caveat.
Just the big, okay.
I think
Explore
so.
both options.
But I agree, but add
Sure.
the two-track in there.
Yeah.
That's what the.
Okay, so let me take that all back. My motion then is to explore both track, which is to continue exploring with Bay Club, and then also engaging in our own assessment of how much it would cost to build one and two pool, option at that same location.
Before we entertain a second, I see the city manager wants to speak. Is there something you wanted to add?
I just wanted to turn it over to Acting City Engineer Gil Gamboa to clarify the type of estimate we would be coming back with.
So when it comes to estimates and the industry standard, there's kind of a 5-level, where level 1 estimate is definitive on, construction drawings. You can do takeoffs, whatnot. We would have to come back at a level 5, which is a very high level. It's plus or minus 20 to 40%, swing on that. So that's what we could come back with in the time period I said in the near future. But if plans evolve, we could get a better estimate. But I just want to be clear that high level estimate is probably what we're going to come back with.
And based on the plans that we have in hand right now.
Yeah.
Right. Right now we're at a concept. We're at screening. We're not at definitive plans.
Is that your intent?
I think that's
Very good.
appropriate.
Is
yes.
there a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Mayor Tem Franklin. Any other comments? Seeing none, we'll call for a vote.
Great.
Actually, before we vote, when will this item come back for purposes of council members as well as the community?
It sounds like the estimate could come back after 3 months, so we'll have to procure the consultant, give them some time to prepare the estimate, and then, of course, do our internal peer review of that estimate before we bring it to council. So I would say if you can give us 3 to 4 months for that component. And then in terms of, and then we'd have to work with Bay Club to see how long it's going to take them to do some of the other work, to get more detailed plans and programming in place for some technical studies to commence. I don't have a timeline on that right now.
Thank you. Call for the vote.
Mayor Lesser,
Yes.
Councilmember Tarnay,
Yes.
Councilmember Sherillian,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Franklin,
Yes.
Councilmember Howard.
I'll take the plunge and say yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Did swimmingly.
Council members, would you like to take a break or carry on?
Oh, carry on.
I can
Carry on?
Yeah.
Second? We will now move on to item number 13, which is By the way, thank you for members of the public who were here tonight and representatives of the Bay Club, as well as for city staff and that presentation, answering questions.
Okay.
There's been a request just for a short recess. We're going to stand in recess for 5 minutes.
This is tea.
That's a good idea. I will.
Whoa.
Oh, that's mine,
I'd
I
like to
think.
call back to order our City Council meeting of November 4th, 2025, and move on to item number 13, which is consideration of a resolution approving an emergency exemption of permit extension and reinstatement fees associated with underground utility assessment districts 19-12 and 19-14.
Thank you, Mayor Lesser. Again, Ted Simon, Interim Public Works Director. I am going to introduce our Acting City Engineer to give you an update on this, that this was a council request from our October 21st meeting. So with that, I'll turn it over to Gil.
Thank you.
Thank you for the introduction. Good evening, Mayor Lesser and council members. I'm Acting City Engineer Gil Gamboa, and I'm here to provide a very brief summary on tonight's item recommending the exemption of permit extension and reinstatement fees associated with underground and utility assessment districts 12 and 14 located in the El Porto area of North Manhattan Beach. So as Ted said, this item is on the agenda tonight per City Council direction provided on the October 21st City Council meeting. So due to the duration and complexity of the service conversion phase for districts 12 and 14, private conversion permits have expired, prompting a need to waive associated fees. On October 21st, 2025, the City Council directed staff to waive Building and Safety Division permit extension and reinstatement fees for properties within these districts. This decision was made to expedite the completion of the undergrounding and remove financial barriers for approximately 284 affected properties with permit fees totaling approximately $50,000. A bit of a breakdown on the permit waivers. There's 284 total permits were analyzed. Refunds in a total amount of approximately $16,000 would be issued, and then waivers in a total amount of $34,000 there, with a combined total of about $50,000 is what we're looking at. So in closing, staff recommends that the City Council adopt resolution number 25-0125, approving a one-time emergency exemption of permit extension and reinstatement fees associated with the delayed private service conversions in underground utility assessment districts 19-12 and 19-14. Thank you. And then for as an aside, for project updates, the public can obviously visit our UUAD undergrounding webpage at manhattanbeach.gov/UUAD. We have an email for the project at uuad@manhattanbeach.gov, or they can call the engineering division at their main line at 310-802-5353.
Great. Thank you for that report. Council members, any questions? Councilmember Sherillian.
Thank you. Appreciate you bringing this back so quick, Gil, and your entire team. This is a very important item that came up. I mean, we can hear more, but I'm ready to make a motion. So
We'll have to take public comment first,
Sure.
but then any other council questions at this time? If not, we'll open this item for public comment. Would any member of the public in the meeting room care to comment on this item? Seeing none on Zoom, does anybody wish to speak? No one on Zoom, in which case we'll close public comment. Councilmember Sherillian, you say you have a motion.
thank you. I do adopt resolution 25-125, approving a one-time emergency exemption of permit extensions and reinstatement fees associated with delayed private service conversions in the underground utility assessment district 1912 and 1914.
Second.
Third, fourth. So
I think Nina, give it to Nina.
It's my area.
Let's give it to Nina.
So it'll be motion by Councilmember Sherillian, second by
owed you
Councilmember
one.
On the
Tarnay.
north side.
Call for the vote.
For the record, can I just make sure that included the adoption of the reso?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Sherillian?
Yes.
Councilmember Tarnay?
Yes.
Mayor Lesser?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Franklin?
Yes.
Councilmember Howard?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. We now move on to City Council requests and reports, including AB 1234 reports, and start with City Council AB 1234 reports. Are there any reports? Seeing none, move on to item number 14. Now we move on to item number 15, which is consideration of a request by Councilmember Tarnay and me, Mayor Lesser, to discuss working with the South Bay City's Council of Governments to explore public transportation coordination with El Segundo, Hermosa Beach, and Redondo Beach. I believe we're just looking for a third vote, is that correct?
I'm
good, too.
receptive.
Councilmember Holworth is the third vote. We now move on. Any further comments that you wanted to make?
No, thank
Councilmember?
you.
Okay, we'll now move on to item number M, future agenda items.
I have something.
Councilmember Holworth.
So I mentioned earlier, I'm interested in seeing, and before I get a second, let me explain what I'm really looking for. An enforcement plan for the mobile vending ordinances and fee structures that we passed tonight. And in my mind, that would look something like, who do you call, who does what, and how do they coordinate between the teams? Because as I mentioned, there's code enforcement, there's police, and then there's finance, and so I want residents and businesses or visitors to understand who do they call, and is there going to be some sort of system of coordination? So that's what I'm looking to bring back, an actual enforcement plan that's easy to find. If I could get a second.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Tarnay. All right. Are there other future agenda items that council members would like to propose? No? You're good? All right. In which case, we move on now to our city manager report. Is there a city manager report?
None this evening, thank you.
Move on to our city attorney report. Is there one tonight?
Nothing tonight.
Thank you. Informational items are on the agenda, as are commission minutes for item 17. Give me just a moment to find here we go. Which case, we will be adjourning this meeting to a closed session on Monday, November 10th, 2025 at 3 p.m. in the City Council chambers. We stand adjourned.